I like a good creepypasta, but I love a bad one even more. In today's video, we're going to do another iceberg chart, but this time we're going to be talking about some of the worst stories that have ever been made, creepypasta wise or not. Most of them I will read. Some of them I will have to skip and just explain it because they're long or you already know them. And at the bottom, I saw one of them which I cannot say out loud. Like, I literally cannot tell you any of the story. I'll tell you about it, but we're going to skip that one. It goes without saying, if you click this video, then you should probably know. Trigger warning. We're going to get into some crazy stuff, some crazy stories. So trigger warning for these things right here. We're going to see some of the worst things I've ever seen, thanks to user /Marlon_Manson V2 on Reddit for letting me use this chart for my video, because obviously this wouldn't be possible without them. Also, thanks for the support about the last iceberg video, because honestly, please go watch that video if you want to see more of these, because I have a little idea for a new one that I kind of want to do, but you know, it's a little idea. So please subscribe. If you subscribe, then I'll definitely try to do it as much as I can. And if you enjoy any sort of true crime / comedy / any sort of random content, then you will probably enjoy my channel, and you should definitely subscribe for life too. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, because nobody follows me on there, and I promoted it on here, but also it's just at the end, so most people don't watch the end anyways, but you should definitely do that. Also, you should check out my Twitch, because I've been streaming terrible movies and also been playing whatever, just talking to y'all, having a good time. So if that sounds good to you, then you should probably go check out my Twitch. I'll also be starting a new channel for gaming and other stuff related, commentary. I want to do more videos, not just this type of style. I want to do videos like I used to do in the past, but you know, it's not going to be the same. But I definitely cannot wait for you to see what I have in store, because I have tons of VODs that I'm going to cut down and I'm going to be posting them. So definitely look out for that, but look out first for my Twitch and go on my Instagram so you can get updates on those, because it's a good time. And I know I should probably start working on that Discord server, but I have not. I'm so sorry. Anyways, with that stupid advertising out of the way, let's jump right in on this video, and I hope you stick around for the whole video and more, so subscribe for life. Above, Sonic.exe. This is the first entry, and it's a very well known one. If you know what creepypastas are, then you know exactly what this is. But even if it's known, it doesn't mean that it's good at all. But for those who don't know how the story goes, I'll give you a simple example. Sonic.exe was a story written by JC the Hyena, and this story was about a guy who receives a CD game from his friend who says not to play it but instead destroy it, or basically he will get you too. Of course, the guy doesn't listen and decides to play the game, but when he plays the game, it seems normal. However, that is a lie. This game is not normal, and in the game, Sonic kills everyone in every gruesome way possible while having bloodshot eyes. This will become a reoccurring thing, so look out for that. Sonic says, "I am God," and other stuff, yeah. Anyways, the story ends with the writer finding in his room a Sonic plushie with bloodstains under its eyes. Ooh, spooky. Yeah, this story isn't really that scary, but when I was a kid, I was very scared of this story, and many of the other ones that are going to be on this list today. Although it was not really good, it was a success, and basically one of the reasons besides Ben Drown that gaming creepypastas were so popular back in the day. Someone even made a fan game from the story, which is pretty cool, although sometimes silly. Even though the story kind of sucks, I still think that it's pretty fun to read and listen to if you haven't already, but I doubt that if you click this video. So let's move on. No reason to tell this story. It's been told many times before, many old videos. It's pretty long to begin with anyway, so we have 40 entries to go. Let's go. Sassy Mama, the Hungry Blood Lover. Before we go any further into this video, I think that I should probably explain to you what exactly a troll pasta is, because we will see a lot of those later down in the iceberg. Also, this is a troll pasta, so just so you know. So a troll pasta, also known as a troll fic, is a subgenre of creepypasta stories and fan fictions, and are intentionally written with poor grammar and cliche plot devices for comedic effect. With that explanation out of the way, I will now read the story since it's really short. Hi, I'm Sassy Mama, the Hungry Blood Lover. You can just call me Sassy. I was a 17-year-old girl when I was killed. I was brutally murdered in the woods the night of the party at my friend's. It was Slenderman's woods. He saved me, brought me back, and I became a creepypasta. Here's me. The day after I died, I wanted to get revenge. I found my murderer and killed him way worse than he killed me. I hung him by his feet and cut open every single vein he had and let him drain. All I did was laugh. He screamed and screamed for help, but nobody could hear him. We were in Slenderman's wood. Nobody dares to go in there, unless you're drunk. I can never thank Slenderman enough for what he did for me. I love all creepypastas more than anything. Don't try anything stupid. I have huge crush on Jeff. Slenderman is like my father. They are all my family now. Never will I ever trade them for anybody. That was terrifying. Holy shit. Jeff the Killer. Possibly the most talked about creepypasta of all time and the most infamous one for the wrong reasons. Jeff the Killer is one of the worst stories ever written, and even more than The Lightbringer, which, oh god. Despite its popularity, it's been ridiculed by the creepypasta community for being so terrible and not meeting any of the standards that of the community. It was eventually taken down, but many people tried to upload it dozens of times until someone updated the story, which, let me tell you, there's so many different variations of this story that it's actually impossible to know who actually made the first one. Many fans also created equally shitty ones and way worse stories with different characters that will be later down in the iceberg. Many believe that the first one ever written was in November 21st, 2011, but honestly, who cares? I'm just trying to find out who made that picture. Where'd that picture come from? Anyways, I really wish I could read this creepypasta, but it's just way too long, and so many people have already done it. It's already a very known creepypasta. If you've seen the Internet Historian's video or Incognito Mode or whatever the guy's name is, I do recommend you go watch that video because it's very funny. And before you go in the comments and say, wow, he's not reading any of the stories. I mean, you clicked on this video, you know what a lot of these stories are. Let's just move on, right? I mean, come on now, you know this story. Clockwork, your time is up. I wanted to shout out the first channel that I ever subscribed to all the way back in 2014. Michael Leroy, he was a real legend and still is when it comes to covering all these old bad creepypastas, and it was really fun to listen to all their commentaries with him and his friends. It reminds me a lot of old YouTube because I can't believe after so many years of making videos, they are still making these videos, which is amazing to hear, and they deserve way more than 30,000 subscribers because honestly, they've been doing this for years. It's really fun to listen to all these people talk about these stories that are just terrible. Anyways, let's get to the story. So yeah, Michael Leroy covered this story and I listened to it, and I was surprised to find out that this one was complete shit. It had all the same problems that every other creepypasta that is trying to be scary and is written in Wattpad, which is, wow. It has bad grammar, like seriously, as soon as it starts. Poor writing, boring story, and no joke, rape is used as a character trait in the story. Yeah, you heard me. Let's move on.
Max and Ruby 004.
Did anyone... Okay, I can't be the only one. Has anyone seen Tad Top's videos? Like, I love watching their old videos. Still like their new ones. They're very good. But their old ones are just fantastic creepypasta stuff. It's old and you can realize it's amazing. And especially like doing the all the guys with the voices like
Max and Ruby 004.
You know who I'm talking about if you watch. Anyways, I love lost episode creepypastas. I mean, it's always been a delight to see how people would try to write the same story over and over again. The amount of times I've seen Bloodshot is pretty crazy at this point. But I think that this story really deserves a read, so enjoy the craziness about the spooky Max and Ruby DVD. It was just Christmas that went by, and things were getting busy. I had to start buying presents for the whole family. I had just finished shopping, but I still need to buy a present for my little cousin. She's not very hard to shop for since my cousin is 4. She likes things like Peppa Pig and My Little Pony. She really liked, and I say liked for a reason, Max and Ruby. So, when I decided to go look for presents, I figured something like a Max and Ruby DVD would have been perfect, since she liked to watch it on a daily basis. However, Christmas meant that many of the online DVDs were sold out on most places. I went to look on eBay as well, but figured that I could not trust what condition the DVD may have been. So, I was stuck in a rut for a while until that package arrived, the DVD. I was at home still scrolling for that stupid DVD until I heard the sound of something being pushed into my letterbox. I caught a hold of it before my dog did and looked at the package. It seemed wrapped fairly badly with what looked like greasy marks and stains on it. Naturally, as someone would, I decided to open the package. Inside there was something I could not imagine. It was a Max and Ruby DVD. But I never seen one like this online. It was like some little kid had drawn the front cover with marker. The title was just Max and Ruby, with what looked like a poorly drawn illustration of Max and Ruby on the front. There was no names or anything, but on the back, it had a list of 4 episodes, all with blunt titles. I quickly gave the DVD a watch over. To my surprise, all the episodes were just in perfect quality and seemed to have no flaws. It was as if it was a real DVD, just with a homemade cover. The only thing I thought appeared odd was the episode selection screen. The episodes had names, but they were all titled Max and Ruby 1, with the number being changed as it went down the list. The actual selection screen was just a blank white screen with the black text and nothing else. After giving it much thought, I decided to change the cover to something a little nicer by printing out a DVD cover that I found online on Google and tracked down and the names of the episodes so they were labeled correctly. So I left the episode list screen alone because I figured it was self-explanatory. Christmas went by and things were fine. I gave my little cousin her DVD, and she was happy with it through Christmas. But that was only because she hadn't watched it yet. On Boxing Day, the family had gone out for lunch and left me to babysit my cousin. I was not too bothered about being left at home. I figured now was a good time to put on the DVD for her. I had put the DVD in and allowed it to play while I was in the kitchen eating my dinner. From what I can hear, she had watched episode 1 through 3 so far. I was just about to finish off my noodles when I heard my cousin screaming from the other room. Dropping everything, I'd run into the living room and saw my cousin curled up on the floor screaming. I looked up at the TV and felt my heart in my throat. What I caught was a glimpse of one of the most horrifying things I'd ever seen. It was what appeared to be a frame of Max and Ruby standing next to each other in complete darkness. But what made it horrible was their lack of faces. They had lost their noses and mouths, and their eyes were completely replaced with big black holes. The colors were disgustingly blood red, and there was a faint static in the background. The sound was replaced with what sounded Max and Ruby theme playing backwards with a faint sound of static in the mix of it all. It had to be one of the most disturbing things I had ever seen. It must have been on screen for at least 20 seconds before the screen went dark and our television set turned off. Which alone was weird because TVs usually don't turn off by themselves. I was able to calm my cousin down, telling her it wasn't real, and she had just had a nightmare as she had fallen asleep in front of the TV. However, I knew it in my mind that it was completely real. My parents had rung me up and told me that they were going to be out all night, so this was going to be the best opportunity to look at the DVD more closely. I didn't mention it to them, and as soon as I hung up, I grabbed the DVD before opening it on my laptop. As soon as it loaded, I noticed that episode 004 had now been replaced with Rip, Mommy, and Daddy, which sent a deep chill down my spine. Since my cousin was now asleep, I plugged in my headphones so he can sleep without having to hear anything. She said he? I thought the cousin was a she. What? Normally an episode of Max and Ruby would feature 3 short stories, but this episode only had 1. It started off quite happy. Max and Ruby were playing tag in the garden, and their parents were on the porch watching them play. However, something was off. The sound was playing in reverse, and the parents' faces were that of sadness. It panned to the mother and father, and it spoke in deep sorrow. The father spoke. "It's such a shame," he sighed. Then it cut to the sound of static and a loud scream, followed by the sound of 2 people choking. The sound felt so real it made me almost physically sick. The scene then switched to both Max and Ruby standing in front of what looked like a gravestone labeled Rip, Mommy, and Daddy. The 2 of them had no face at this point, and there was no sound apart from faint static. The scene remained on screen for about a minute and a half, before it cut away to black. It then changed scenes again, now showing Max and Ruby sitting in Ruby's room. Both of them were sobbing. The sobbings were so realistic and heart-wrenching that it sounded like it was recorded from a real person mourning. What happened next was probably the most disgusting yet saddening thing that I've ever witnessed. The scene had changed to Max sitting in his room. He was standing on a chair with a noose hanging from the ceiling. He placed the noose around his neck. My computer screen faded to black as static got louder. Almost instantly, it then cut to Ruby walking in on her brother. She let out a horrible scream as the background turned black. The camera was panned on her face as the sound of the chair being kicked and the same choking from before began to play. The picture of Ruby's face stayed on screen for a good 5 minutes. This time, her eyes had returned as the same gaping holes. Ruby then started crying, and as before, there was no other facial features. The static slowly grew louder and drowned out the sound of her cries. The scene cut to black with this loud static. When the screen returned, Ruby was standing, now on her own, in the garden by 2 gravestones. One labeled "Rip Mommy and Daddy" and the other "Rip Brother." At this point, I'd already been sick and was sitting all shaken. The episode seemed to have come to an end at last. As an old computer noise started playing, I was about to eject the DVD when the same image came up like it did on the TV. This time, however, there was a text above the 2 rabbits which said,
Death is our only release.
There were no credits or anything else. It stayed on the screen for a few seconds before the DVD finally popped out of my laptop. I sat there trying to contemplate what had actually happened in shock and fear, and made a foolish decision to break the DVD as much as I could before leaving the house. Afterwards, I shoved the pieces down the drain. Thankfully, I kept a few screenshots and saved them to my laptop. The next couple of days had passed without anything unusual happening. I had nightmares about the DVD, but luckily, that was all. My cousin had gone back home along with the rest of her family. It was a late night and my parents had gone out for dinner, leaving me to watch TV. I heard what sounded like someone posting something through the door, and at this point, the DVD had left my mind since I hadn't told anyone about it. However, all came floating back when I looked down at the letter in front of me. It was just messily folded up and said,
Death is our only release.
Honestly, that isn't as bad as the other Creepypasta Lost episodes. When I was a kid, that one picture of Max and Ruby did kind of scare me, but now, this story is just kind of subpar and nothing special, but I always remember what those pictures really told me, and it's metal as fuck sometimes. I gotta admit it, and you might not agree with me, but I think so. Let's move on. Tails doll. The Tails doll originated from and is only known from a pretty obscure racer called Sonic R, which will take us to what is known as the Tails doll curse, or the many ways that people have said you can summon this quote-unquote entity. Let's look at these. Ever played Sonic R? Possibly a small percentage of you have heard of the Tails doll. Here's one of the stories I've heard from my close friend. A man came home from work with a gift for his son. He had picked up a new video game for him, Sonic R. It was a racer, and when he gave his son the gift, he was excited to get it and play it right away. The night he played the game with his son, he had a great time. A couple of days later, the boy was almost finished with the game. His dad was there in the room when he beat the last boss. He roared in excitement when he finally did. He smiled and asked him how he liked the game as he watched the credit screen. "What's that?" he asked the boy. When the Tails doll appeared on the screen, the boy said it was the Tails doll, and that's all he knew. He told the son it was time to go to bed. During the night, the curious father went to the boy's bedroom and turned on the TV quietly to play the game for a while himself. He noticed that he now had the option to play as the Tails doll. He chose him to tag up with some gang. The game was fun until he tagged up with Sonic. The screen went black when the game system shut itself down. The man decided it was time for him to go to sleep since he had to go to work in the morning, so he creeped out of his son's room and went to lay in his bed with his wife. At around 2 a.m., he woke up when he heard thumps on his door. He assumed that it was his son getting up and asked him to get him something. He told the boy to stop, go back to bed. The thumping kept happening, and at one point he noticed a little shadow coming from under the door. Tails kept poking his head. He got out of bed and slowly opened the door. Then he heard something say in a very softly, "You are coming with me forever." It was the doll. An evil, covered, possessed little doll. It was the doll from the game. It had to be. Oh. Yeah, that one was not very good. It was not really scary. I mean, honestly, I'll give them props for this. They did not make it very crazy and elaborate. Like, from a certain point, it felt kind of just like, realistic until the end, which obviously would not be. This is kind of like a campfire type story. It's not good. All right, now we're going to read another story because that was really short and there's tons. I believe there's 4. So let's read that. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who lived in California and loved to play the Sonic R video game on the Sega Saturn console. Apparently the video game was cursed. He had unlocked Tails doll in the game. He played the game mode called Tail Race and used Tails doll to tag Tails, Metal Sonic, Metal Knuckles, and Super Sonic. That night his TV froze and he saw Tails doll on the screen going back and forth. He jumped out and killed the poor little kid. So this also tells you how to do the Tails doll curse to summon the Tails doll. All right, so here are the steps. So get ready. How to do the Tails doll curse. Number 1, go to a bathroom and turn off the lights. Number 2, go to YouTube and view Can You Feel the Sunshine backwards. Then living in the city backwards. There will be red light in the mirror. Bum bum. Yeah. Alright, next version. This doll is no ordinary doll. This doll is pure evil. People make videos about it, Wikipedia, and other stuff. The Tails doll! To summon him, you must play the game Sonic R, 100% completed. Play as the Tails doll and play tag mode. While playing tag mode, you can see Super Sonic. When you tag him, something strange will happen. The screen will change the picture of the Tails doll. You will see him standing on the red checkered floor. You might be hearing a song called Can You Feel the Sunshine? If you see a red light, don't go near it. It's the Tails doll. It might kill you, or it will give you a curse. It will give you bad luck. Man, I love that ending. I really love the ending and the expressive, like, sort of things. Like, it will give you bad luck. Like, yeah, that's what a curse is. I don't know why you would have to explain that. Okay, next one. On my 7th birthday, I got the Sonic Gems collection, which, like, the witch, included Sonic R. I loved that game until I was playing as Tails doll in the tag 4 characters mode, and the screen went black when I tagged Super Sonic. I thought it was just a glitch with all the scratches on the disc, so I shut the game off and cleaned off the disc and put it away. The next day I tried again, and this time a picture of TD popped up floating over some red checkered tile with Can You Feel the Sunshine playing. I was creeped out at this point, so I turned off the game and went to bed. The next morning, I hopped on the Google and looked up strange glitches on Sonic R, and the story of the Tails doll curse came up. The glitches matched up perfectly with the curse, and I now knew what was going on. I also looked at ways of summoning him and found the following. Number 1, step 1, go to the bathroom after 11 p.m. and turn off the lights. Step 2, can you play this, yada yada, wait 5 minutes, you get that red diamond will appear on the mirror. Yeah, okay. I took my recorder and recorded the songs I needed for the night to come. I also played Sonic R until about 10:30 so I could watch the time. 11 finally came. I played the song and waited 5 minutes, and surely enough, he was there. I was stunned to see him. He sat there by my head, staring right into my eyes, motionless. I slowly reached out to touch his ear, and he quickly smacked my hand away. He let his red gem illuminate his face. His bloody face shan't be forgotten. Why would you? and he whispered into my ear, "Can you feel the sunshine?" I can't. Ever. And just as suddenly as he came, the doll was gone. Whoa. Whoa. I can't believe they did that right at the end. That is really stupid. I love that. That was really funny. That was a little funny thing. Alright, let's move on. Jane the Killer. So, this story is way too long also, like the other Jeff the Killer story. And for that reason, I really can't tell you it, beside it's a story about a girl who basically wants to kill Jeff the Killer. And it's like this fanfic that someone wrote, and it's like not very good at all. You should definitely go listen to it if you're interested, but I can't read the whole thing here. However, I do have a different story here for us, and this is Jana the Killer. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this one instead. It's very short compared to the other one, because the other one is probably a 30-minute read, so let's just not do that. Me, Nina, Louie, and Jeff are brothers and sisters, beautiful brown-haired and black-eyed babies. It all started a long time ago, before I went insane. We were babies. Back then, we were so happy and cheerful. I'll never forget how much we did together. But then, for an unknown reason, our family got torn apart. Jeff and Louie stayed together, but me and Nina went to different families. But the family I went to was a abusive one. When I was 15, they took me to some high school where I made a bunch of friends. There were also girls that would bully me. I would be stopped by them. I would have stopped them, but they had knives, and I felt if I tried to stop them, they would kill me. Ha 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 ha, but it was the other way around. Later that day, we had to go home early. No one knew why, but we did. What? After the normal bus ride home, I noticed something different. Something was in my room. Wait, what? At my house. I walked towards my room. I heard a voice, more like a whisper, and it said, "She's coming. Hide." This is when I rushed to my bedroom door to find the window open and the floor covered in a clear liquid. Out of curiosity, I sniffed the liquid. Turns out the liquid wasn't what I thought it was. It was gasoline. I looked through the window to find two jerks standing there with their lighters in their hands. They'd flicked on the lighters and threw them in my house somehow. Before I knew it, my house burst in flames. The jerks ran away. Later, a girl that looked familiar, two as in like two, you know, showed up my doorstep with a fire extinguisher in her hand. Luckily for me, my house was opened. It turns out that she had called an ambulance before she came to my house. The girl put out most of the fire. When she took one more glance at me, she just fainted. I don't remember much of the hospital, but the day when I my bandages off, I was shocked at myself. I said, My skin, my hair, what happened to me?" Skin was white like snow. My hair was pure black. I remember nothing else, but I will tell you how I became insane. It was just a week after the accident. The girls that came to my house, she said, "Hello, is anybody here?" I replied and said, "We are upstairs, come join us." She walked up the stairs to me and no one else, because they were behind me in a messy pile. Blood dripped everywhere. I killed them. The girl was in shock. "Did you do that?" She said in a scary voice, "Yes. And what is your name?" I replied, looking like a psychopath. Nina Woods. She stared at my face. I stared back at her with tears coming down cheeks. Wait, are you by any chance Jana Woods? She asked with tears down her face. I am Jana Woods, I replied. Nina hugged me. I miss you, my sister. She cried in my shoulder, and I cried in hers. Then Nina grabbed my arm and said, "We must leave. I don't want to see my sister in jail." We left my house. That's all I remember. Wow, this story was, yeah, I don't think this is true. This is a joke, troll pasta. Surface level. I tried to submit this pasta to the Creepypasta wiki, but it was rejected, and it made me sad because it was an okay pasta. Here's another great troll pasta, which you can definitely tell just by the name. Yeah, let's just read it. Chapter 31.3, the EWU History Textbook for 7th grade. The following is a diary of an unknown doctor who worked during the turbulent times of World War III. This diary was found by EWU Representative Captain near the site of a formal hospital in western Pennsylvania, June 27, 2093. The bombings kept coming. It seems like they come every second now. Every second. I guess the EWU is picking up the pace. The hospital is getting busier and busier. More patients are getting the disease. Further testing is required. The radiation treatment centers are becoming full. Only elderly, young, and women are permitted. June 28th. The EWU attacked the hospital today. They killed a young nurse and 27-year-old female patient. They infected 3 more with the disease. The unusual symptoms of vomit and organ rot have shown in the patients. I've heard that President Catherine Withers may be surrendering to the EWU. This would make things a lot easier. June 29th. She tried to make peace, but it failed. Withers declared all and women between the ages of 15 and 55 to join the armed forces. This exempts medical and other essential personnel. Meanwhile, almost half the people in the hospital have the disease. I am now required to live in the hospital. It is too dangerous to go outside. Who knows what could be out there? June 30th. The military is now guarding the hospital. It sounded like there was people trying to break in. President Withers was assassinated today. Almost 75% of the patients have the disease. We are now asked to wear disease-resistant suits. June 31st, the EWU army broke in again. Most of the medical staff was killed, but I managed to survive. The patients were left unharmed. 147 of my patients have their organs completely rotted out. Following autopsy, there was no organ matter left in the body. July 1st, all the patients have died of the disease. Vice President Jones has declared a national emergency. The radiation is bad. Is really bad. I am showing symptoms of radiation poisoning, and I expect to only live for only 1 more week. The hospital was almost completely destroyed by another bomb. July 3rd, I spent the last day sleeping. The radiation sickness is taking a toll on me. One of the creatures escaped the lab room. I completely forgot about them. It killed a male doctor and a female assassin. The creature was instantly killed by me. I had heard the Vice President Jones will give the Federal Republic of America to the EWU. July 4th. The country birthday is now also its death day. I can feel my eyes becoming heavy. A loud explosion just went off outside the hospital. I can feel the collapse of the building. I don't think I will make it illegible. Oh my god, oh my god. The creature. Illegible. Bleeding out. Illegible. Deformed man. Illegible. So I thought that this was a diary. I'm confused why they say I don't think I'll make it like it's some audio diary or something. No, it's not, just a diary. That's just all it's saying. It's on textbook. This is documentary. I don't understand this. I don't understand why Rainbow Steve, also known as the scariest story of all time. It's based on Minecraft, which makes it even more scary because of the cave noises and Herobrine and everything in the game, because the game is hard and it's just, let's just read it, man. I don't know if I can take it. Yep, that's right. Too many color Steves, too many color Steve, too many color Steves, too many color Steves.
One eternity later.
Too many color Steves, too many color, almost done. Too many color Steves, too many color Steves. So, how should we stop these? Oh, how will we stop making pages about colored Steves? Oh, how? Oh, how? Oh, how? No, there's a solution. Rainbow Steve is called that, due it having all colors in it, therefore being a colored Steve. So why do we need to create other pages? Why? So really, here is no point. This is the page representing colored Steve. So don't make any. Yeah, that's not much of a story. It's just a troll pasta. LOL. Sally.exe. This story is a sequel to the late and great Sonic.exe. It was written by a fan. It is equally as terrible as the other one. It was so popular that another game was made of it, which also became extremely popular when Markiplier played the game. The story follows the same themes and problems the first one had, and I think that this one does deserve a read. I'm a big fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, like a lot of people. I narrowed down to the classic Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon shows though, because I think the rest Sega had spawned was rat crap, but to each their own. I was browsing eBay the other day. I wonder if there was any items about my favorite character from the series, Sally Acorn. Indeed, what I found was a plushie that was manufactured in Sega World of Sydney, which closed down due to its lack of visitors in 2006. Those Sally plushies were very rare, but I didn't have the money to buy her, and my parents would despise me for it. I examined the plushie for a while, as the article came with pictures. This Sally even had her jacket on it. Was written with permanent marker, God. I don't really know what it meant. Probably the initials of the child owning her before they sold her. I clicked the back button and returned to the Sonic Sally search, knowing that I wouldn't win the auction anyways, only to find another article that's appeared. Sonic Satan cartoon, all episodes. So Saturday morning, with the price of $1 on instant buy. SAT-AM DVDs weren't never released where I came from, bummer. So as happy as I was, I wanted to rewatch the show and check out the article. It had no description and no address where it came from, Germany, Canada, etc. It was missing and the shipping price was stated to be free. I looked up the photo of the article. It was a blank CD. I decided to buy it anyway, not just for the nostalgia, but the writing was great. And I love Robotnik in the series. Well, it all started when the mail arrived. It arrived the next morning. Oddly, it was Sunday. I was happy to receive the episodes and immediately put the blank CD into my laptop, starting the DVD. Sadly, the DVD didn't start, but it offered me to show the files. So I opened the folder and saw a Sally.exe application. I was confused at it being an exe, but I started it anyways, and indeed, it was playing a SAT-AM episode. The episode's Hooked on Sonics began. The episode started out all normal along with the intro. No blood or anything. But the sad thing was that my computer blue screened when the kissing scene of Sonic and Sally appeared. When Sally walks over to Sonic and kisses his cheek, he calls her kiss not so good and grants her a better one, and it was so cute too. The computer rebooted and I took out the CD and I thought it malfunctioned and I threw it away. I could have asked the person to give me my money back, but he can keep the $1 I gave him. I mean, it's just $1. I continued to normally browse the internets, speaking to friends on Skype and all. Nothing was wrong until I watched a random YouTube video. My cursor, the white arrow in case you didn't know, started to completely spaz out. I disconnected my mouse, but the cursor continued to thrash around my screen. I even deactivated my touchpad and it continued. Suddenly, it came to a stop and I carried on, ignoring what had happened. Soon, I found myself downloading a ROM for Sonic the Hedgehog. Fun game. As soon as it downloaded, I started up my emulator and begun the game in windowed mode. But oddly, the complete screen went black. I shrugged it off and waited for the game to start. The familiar Sega jingle didn't sound. Well, it did, but it was slowed down so much it sounded demonic and it gave me a cringe. The background remained black and Sonic didn't run past the logo. It faded to black and some text appeared. I first thought it was a red font, but it looked like it was scratched into my computer screen. Up for round 2? I blinked and flinched as the main screen came on. The sky was dark and gray, and the clouds looked dull and black. Like right before the thunderstorm, the mountains were decayed and so was the logo. It even looked partially rusted. I was amazed at the pixely detail, but it also scared me. Sega 1991 was now replaced with Sega 666, and the water was a blood red. The familiar music wasn't played either. It was just a 16-bit mess of sounds and the demonic Sega occasionally mixed in. Instead of Sonic showing up, two characters appeared next to the logo, Tails and Knuckles. The sight of them terrified me even more. Tails' eyes were black and they were bleeding. His fur had become a dull gray-black as well, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Knuckles looked far worse. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripped with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding like Tails, and he had a look of sadness in his face. Just then, I noticed a new character pop up in the middle of the logo. A pink, bubbly little hedgehog poked her head out. At first, she was smiling, but then frowned at what was around her. She looked confused and nervous. She didn't know what was going on. Amy Rose? I thought. What is this all about? Curiosity drove me to press enter. A short yet loud static noise sounded and the screen faded. I wish I hadn't done so. Kyle didn't want to play with me. The writing appeared again. What a shame, but I can play with you. ... Right? The demonic Sega jingle sounded again. As a split second, an image flashed. It disappeared too fast, so I couldn't make it out, and I could have sworn I saw a red and black Sonic with black and red eyes. I almost felt them pierce me, and at that moment, it made me jump. It didn't begin in Green Hill Zone Act 1, though. I wish it did. Instead, the title card read, "Not Perfect Act 1. The game begun." The ground looked like the normal Green Hill Zone, but the background was pitch black. Amy stood normally where Sonic would be in the original game. Surprisingly, that was a well-made sprite. It wasn't her classic self, but it was her current self. It looked official even. On the opposing side of the screen where Amy was at, there was a large silver ring. In front of the ring stood the sprite of Sonic with a smile on his face. The animation of Amy standing there was that she stared forward with a lovely dovey expressions as hearts came from her head here and there. I guess I should head to Sonic, I thought as I moved Amy towards Sonic. Oh, okay. But Sonic ran away and jumped into the ring. I made Amy leap right after him. The level teleported to one of the stages where you can get a Chaos Emerald. The background was pink with love hearts all over. It looked cute, but I was distracted by only having 4 white-red colored spears to jump on. And I've tried to balance Amy's on top of it, and she desperately tried to keep onto it in the spheres, but my control slipped and Amy fell. I fell onto a wall of gold spheres. Just as I thought I teleported back, a loud shriek sounded and the images of this demonic Sonic continued to flash over the screen. The screen completely spazzed out and I heard shrieks, loud shrieks. From what I could swear it was Amy Rose herself. I kept hearing, "No! No!" The loud cries of agony and pain which abruptly ended with statics for a split moment before the screen cut to black. Soon the title screen appeared again. Knuckles and Tails were missing, but instead Amy appeared. She was smiling, her usual cute smile, but her body had holes. Not bleeding holes or bullet holes, just holes that pierced her body all over. Her colors faded to a dull black and white. Even her eyes looked oddly disfigured. This scared me so much my entire body began to itch. I scratched myself over and over as I watched a new character appear. I frowned upon seeing Cream, who had a sheer terrifying expression and huddled against the logo for comfort. Poor Cream. I wanted to quit the game, but as if forced, I hit start again and the screen faded. Kind of Fair Act 1. The scene was blank now, and the background music was a drowning sound, slower version of Green Hill Zone. It nearly made me gag, but something forced me to play. The stage began and Cream's sprite was like Amy's. Very well done. The environment was childish, It looked like a cute cutout. In front of Cream was a TV box that gave you hide speed. I made Cream crouch down and do a spin dash, and I dashed ahead, crashing the box. The level didn't change. The ground was a solid platform, and it seemed that Cream was going faster and faster and faster, and she crashed more boxes more and more. I noticed that music got completely out of sync, which scared me. Suddenly, Cream crashed into a wall of spikes. A loud splat sounded, which didn't even sound like it would belong in a 16-bit game. Poor Cream was torn to shreds. Blood dripped from the spikes and bloodied rapid as the background slowly began to melt in front of my eyes. The image flashed again, and soon the title screen appeared. I was back at the title screen, and Cream appeared with Amy. She did look scared, but her other eye was, how do I put it, droopy and dead, and bled a black goo. Her ears were over her face now instead of back in her head. Her colored scheme changed from brown to orange to very, very dark purple and red. Her dress was a dull gray. Time for the third character. Oh God. I didn't want to cry and weep when I saw Sally Acorn pop out of that goddamn logo, putting on her innocent smile as she waved towards me. Like she didn't know what torture would happen to her. The game was terrifying and yet so satisfying, but I wanted to stop real bad, but my hand wouldn't budge. I even started shaking. I wanted to reach for the power button, turn the darn thing off, but my hand just wouldn't move. And before I knew it, I already hit start and the screen faded. Act 9, it said. A sad, dull melody played in the background as a silhouette of the ground, a sprite silhouette that resembled Sally, appeared in front of the background that consisted the whole group. Amy, Cream, Knuckles, Tails, and Robotnik appeared, all in their tortured forms with a sudden expression. It also had Sonic, but in a nearly unrecognizable way. He had a wide grin on his face with razor-sharp teeth. He had black eyes with red dots for pupils, which were bleeding. Oh. It looked like he would reach out of the silhouette in front of him. I tried to move Sally, get out of here, but each wall wouldn't budge, and Sally would do a pushing animation. I stopped in the middle as, to my horror, the stage began to shrink and the black started to close in on Sally. I tried moving her again, but the walls wouldn't budge or move. I walked Sally back to the middle as the walls closed in on her. She crouched down before she completely disappeared in the dark. Splat! The red writing appeared on the screen again, only it was dripping like blood, and it was crooked. Sonic, my love. Suddenly, a familiar scene faded in. I recognized it immediately. Sonic, Sad AM, was playing from where the CD cut off. It had a reddish shade, and Sonic had these black, bleeding, demonic eyes. Sally looked even worse, at least to me. Her eyes were missing. It was like they were taken out of Sally's skull, was sewed close again. Blood was running from her wound. It didn't look Photoshop. It was actually animated. Sonic pulled Sally over, like in the show, only tentacle-like. Things bursted out of her mouths and locked, making disgusting slurping noises. I could even see them bulge in Sally's throat. Worst thing was that even looked like they were enjoying it, and for a moment, I think I was too. I could see the corrupt Tails and Knuckles in the background too. Sonic pulled away. So, not bad. Sally simply replied. I gagged and looked away from the screen. Out of the corner, I noticed something on my bed. On my bed was a Sally doll I saw on eBay with its eyes missing. You know what that means? The character, dies? I don't know. Scary game. Ha. No. It's okay. It's not good. I think this one's a little bit better than actual Sonic.exe story though. There's some things I liked a little bit more. It's definitely still not good, but it's definitely better than the other one. I think I definitely enjoyed this one a little bit more because I have more memories about this one more than Sonic.exe because I actually got scared when I was a kid when I first looked at this one, but now looking back, it's not that scary. It's just some childhood memory stuff, but honestly, it's still good. I still enjoyed it in its terrible way, especially the parts that they always describe in the the fact that it's connected to the other story. It gets worse, actually, but that's later down the list, I believe. Unless I forgot that it's not on here. But yeah, that eBay thing, that's pretty stupid. I mean, I don't know how that would work. That's not how eBay works. I guess it's on a Sunday. That's pretty dumb too. Still enjoy it though, in its terrible way. Let's go to the next one. Paper cuts, aka the failed human experiments. So going further, I do have to mention that a lot of these stories are posted on the Trollpasta wiki, but that doesn't mean that all these stories are actually trolling. And a lot of them are just stories that fall flat on their face and have some really bad writing. So if I make a mistake while making this video, I'm sorry, but this one is something else. Oh my god. I'm about to tell you a story from something that will forever haunt me. It all started when me and my best friend Mikey were listening to the radio. The news reporter said a girl went missing. They said her name was Rosie Saxon. Then all of a sudden, Mikey said he knew her. I looked at him in shock. Mikey also knew her parents, so we went to visit them. When we got to their house, they explained that she's just hanging out at the mall with her friends and that she didn't come back. They are too grievance-stricken to talk about the rest. So we went to our friend's Larry's house. Larry had been acting weird ever since the disappearance of Rosie. He said, "I've been working on some projects for school." Despite Larry's lack of information on Rosie's disappearance, I was pretty sure that we'd find something, and soon. What kind of sick son of a bitch would do such a thing and steal a 14-year-old girl? Mikey said angrily as he took a bite of his sandwich. "Ah, that's my sandwich! Ah! Oh, I'm so angry, I'm gonna bite this sandwich!" I don't know who would, but have you noticed the way that Larry's been acting since the disappearance, I said? After that episode, we went to bed. The next morning, when I woke up, something wasn't right. Mikey was gone! It said something on the wall near Mikey's bed. It said, "Paper cuts," in red ink. Something weird was happening. Part 3. After Mikey's disappearance, I tried to figure out. So, I went to my friend's Tommy's house. But he wasn't there. Then I went to my other friend's Katie's house, but she wasn't there. Then I did the obvious thing. I went to Larry's house. He was acting a little weirder than usual. He had this sinister look, like he killed somebody, and he kept getting anxious. Didn't like he was planning something. He kept laughing and murmuring to himself like he had done something wrong, but he didn't care about it. Was this the end? Was I really gonna die like this? Did Larry kidnap Rosie, Mikey, Kate, and Nick? I thought. It might have been the end for me at this point. I woke up in some lab-like environment, but what I saw made me sick. I saw my best friend Mikey hanging by his end rails. "Paper cuts!" He said in an extremely weak sounding voice. Oh, that was not extremely. Let me try that again. "Paper cuts!" That's better. He said in an extremely weak sounding voice. Then Nick and Katie tied together in barbed wire, getting torn apart. There was a contraption above them. It seemed like the device above them would decapitate them if they even tried to escape. Then the next thing I saw churned my stomach. It was a photograph of what I guess used to be Rosie, because her name, Rosie, was descripted in the bottom. I noticed that she was sitting on the bed I'm sitting on now. The photo had bad resolution, so really couldn't make anything out of it. I puked at the sight I was seeing. Then I figured he was a little tall and whist. It was Larry. He unstrapped me, brought me to my feet, and took me to the chair, strapped me up again. "See those over there? Those are my failed experiment. Those are my failed human experiments. And you will be my first success," he said as he grabbed a thin layer of construction paper. "What are you doing with that?" I said in fear. "What are you doing with that?" The webs of my fingers and sliced them with paper. "Why are you doing this?" I said in horror and agony. "Experimenting my paper cuts," he said sinisterly, and he was slicing the webs of my toes. Then, god damn, this hurt. Oh my god. Then he grabbed my neck and sliced my neck. He unstrapped me as he grabbed a gun out of his pocket. "You failed experiment. You failed me. Now you must end up like my other fucking failed experiments," he said, holding the gun to my head. The second after he said that, I sludged him in the stomach. He was on his knees. I grabbed his gun and pistol whipped him to death. After that, I got my friends to the ER. We came out alive, and I decided to have a survival party at my house. It was a great time too, but Larry was found dead in his garage the same night. Part 5. Epilogue. After the party, Kate and Nick went back home, and me and Nike started to go to bed. Mikey was looking at his toothpaste. Hey dude, look what I found. As he was in, alright, have it your way, but I'm gonna keep it, Mikey said joyfully, but sadly, Mikey was found dead the next morning. Okay, I don't understand the ending. That was stupid. What? What happened at the end? That doesn't make sense. None of it made sense at the end. I can't make any sense to it. It's stupid. Wow, that was dumb. Alright, especially with that party thing, that was just stupid. Why, like, we all had fun, yeah. I can't tell if this is a joke, if this is even trolling, dude. This is... Alright, next one. Minecraft Satan Edition. Minecraft Satan Edition is the story about a guy who plays Minecraft with his friend, but something goes completely wrong. Gasp! Satan joins the game. And, well, let's just read the story. I love Minecraft. Notice that past tense. I know you might not believe this, but I stopped playing Minecraft because I found out the devil was behind it. Let me explain. One day, I was playing with my friend Eric. I didn't have Minecraft for PC. I only had Xbox Edition. I wanted some way to play Minecraft on the go, so I bought Pocket Edition. Since Eric didn't have an Xbox, he had Pocket Edition too. So we decided to play with each other, viewing our creations, stuff like that. He asked me if I had a sort of parkour map. I did. So I scrolled down to what I called Parkour World. As I scrolled down, I noticed a world simply called Hell. The screenshot from the world was the Nether, which was weird because it hadn't been added in yet. So I simply deleted the world. Nothing happened. I kept trying to delete it, but it wouldn't go away. Since my friend was waiting patiently, I decided to ignore it and go on with my world. After that, we played the parkour and screwed around. What was weird was that I found invisible blocks that would randomly replace stuff around the world. At first I didn't care, until almost a whole world was covered in invisible blocks. Eric couldn't do anything because he was trapped by all the blocks. Luckily, I made a backup of the world just for this occasion. I deleted the current world and we went to the backup world. But what was strange was that the splash of text on the screen said 666. I thought it was a weird joke and moved on. When we joined the server, we got bored and started to spawn some cows. But what was weird was that cows looked depressed. Then he died. When they died, they let out a distorted cry. We were both creeped out and decided to exit and play survival server. When I joined, I had all my items as last time. But what was weird was the sword was covered in blood. It wasn't even named a diamond sword. It was called the Bloody Murderer. I was freaked out, but Eric was even more. As on his Kindle, I saw the creepers. But there weren't any normal creepers, as their faces were full of tears. Freaked out, Eric ran away as the creepers exploded and its guts going out of its body. He collected those items, which were named Bloody Sulfur. Eric came to my house, in where he looked at his crafting chest. If he had combined bloody sulfur with an arrow, decorative item, simple, lovely decoration. Eric was scared as much as I was. Suddenly, a cluster of zombies, skeletons, and spiders, all angry and covered in blood, approached us. They looked realistic, as if the mobs were actually real. We tried to turn it into peaceful. We tried to kill them. We tried to exit, but nothing would work. I wasn't stupid, of course. So I tried shutting off my iPad. But after 4 seconds, the game came back on with an ear-piercing scream. Suddenly, the chat said, "Just call your mom. What the fuck? Why don't you just do that?" Server, Satan has joined the game. We just froze. Nobody else was in the house. Okay, alright. Okay, I guess not. Dude, don't call your mom. And online was off. Just close out of the app then, right? No, or does it so it said, so I tried to shut off my iPad. That's okay, whatever. Wait, what? Then he said,
Everybody in the world is after you. Your family's not your family. You are a waste of life. Your brothers shouldn't be in the same reality as you.
I was just about to get my hammer and smash the iPod. And now it's an iPod. What the? Dude, make up your mind. Until I heard a scream from upstairs. It was my little brother Matthew. I thought you said no one was home. I went upstairs to find him with a sword in his body, bloody. There was a text embedded on it and it read, "Bloody Murderer." Back downstairs, I saw in the chat, "Andrew has died." Then Eric said to me, "Oh my god, we must smash our tablets. Look at mine too." I looked at Eric's Kindle. Everything was a negative color. The music was heavily distorted and there was satanic whispering in the background. Just then, Eric accidentally mined the door. All the monsters came in and brutally killed Eric. As they killed him in game, he dropped dead in real life. Server, Eric has died. I then looked at my phone. I now only had 13 pentagrams in my inventory. Just now? Just only 13? They all did nothing. Screams and cries of help, along with loud demonic chanting, filled the speakers. I picked up my hammer and destroyed the iPad. My hammer caught on fire as I looked at Eric's phone. He said, "Satan,
You thought you could kill me? Silly human, they will kill you.
Just then my door opened as the mobs came running at me. I died in game, which caused me to get killed in reality. The chat text was entered a bit early, so I was able to read this, but not for long. Server, Danny has died. Server, deleting world survival. Server, transferring all entities to world hell. As I write this to you down in the underworld, before I became a devil's minion, please stop playing Minecraft, as the same thing can happen to you." Yeah, it's pretty generic and boring. It's your average gaming creepypasta. The whole hell thing is pretty stupid at the end, and all around it's not very good at all, especially after the amount of times that he recounts his phone being an iPod, then an iPad, then an iPhone. It just doesn't make sense. It's not really worth looking back at this creepypasta. There's nothing unique about it, and honestly, it's pretty boring. There's just no good themes about it, and the whole entire idea that he gets transferred, it just sounds like he gets transferred to the hell in Minecraft. And how the heck is he gonna type that? How's he gonna type the whole thing if he says that? It just doesn't make sense. Let's just move on. Mario Kart Driven. I have nothing to say. Literally nothing. We can just read this one. This one's a long one, so sit back, drink coffee, do whatever, because the next few after this are definitely not as long as these. But yeah, growing up as a kid in the mid-90s, I was a Nintendo child through and through. Weekends and weekends would go by as my brother and I played SNES and N64 until the crowds came home. Back then, I was especially partial to my brother's N64 and the set of games he had with it. As a result, those got played a lot more by me, and it made Mario Kart 64 my favorite game. Nazi zombies and Modern Warfare may have taken up most of my gaming time as I became part of the Xbox Live age, but Mario 64 still held a piece in my heart as my all-time favorite. All of that was before these past 2 weeks. Now I won't touch an N64 at all. I rarely play any Nintendo titles. A few months back, I brashly sold my N64 and my SNES at a yard sale my family was holding. Avarice and angerance were brought to me by my discovery of emulator. In my eyes, their ability to deliver classic games in unlimited quantities at no cost was second to none. I don't remember much about the yard sale, but the family who I sold it to left a distinct memory in mine. The family consisted of a small Hispanic woman with 2 very young children. She didn't know much English, and at the time I didn't know any Spanish. The language barrier complicated things, but I didn't hinder the sale entirely. She walked off with the SNES and N64 with roughly 20 games in total, and I walked off with $40? You piece of crap, $40? You had a gold mine. You walked off with $40. It didn't take me long to realize that this was an obtuse decision. When my brother found out, he was frustrated, but he agreed to help me get it back. He came into town 2 weeks ago, and on a second day, we headed back to our local used game shop. The store was a nice little place called Game Giant. My brother knew the owner and employees well. He had gotten a lot of his PS2 games from there before he moved in a place of his own. As fate would have it, the very woman I sold it to would sell my N64 to the shop. We got it for $50, which was pretty cheap. Yeah, that is way too cheap. Extremely. The budget wouldn't allow any games, however, so we were under the impression that we would walk out empty-handed. After we explained our financial predicament with the owner, he told us he had a copy of Mario 64 they were giving away for free. Oddly enough, he waited for me and all the other customers to leave before he gave it to us. His hands were shaking, and he started to stutter. He also let us know that we were more than entitled to a refund should we choose to take it back. Now I had believed in ghosts, and I still do, but the idea of a haunted video game seemed implausible to me. My brother was a total skeptic, and agreed with me. Thinking nothing of the store's owner's strange behavior, we went home with the night filled with revived memories. We arrived back home at about 4 p.m. Versus was our first order of business. I chose Toad, my personal favorite from childhood, because of his unparalleled acceleration. My brother chose Luigi, his personal favorite, because he was the fastest of all the medium weight characters. Shells were tossed and bananas were thrown until 6 p.m. We had dinner and then we delved into the Grand Prix races. All the cups were completely on gold. However, whoever played this game was pretty close to getting everything, as the only thing left to complete was the reverse cups. It wasn't any fun to build on someone else's files, so we went to data to clear it. The lap times read all the same, 6 minutes and 66 seconds. Not only was that really creepy, but it was also really illogical. How would someone get a perfect Grand Prix record with time trial times like that? My brother, being the skeptic he was, suggested it was someone trying to mess with us. Not being inclined to disagree, I cleared the data with the press of a button. It was undoubtedly the worst decision I've ever made in my life. The game shut off by itself. Only static could be seen and heard for a good 5 minutes. Dominantly audible was the depressed, scared voice of Mario repeating a cryptic phrase. "You have driven us," he said in a clear melancholia, "and now you must watch us suffer." My brother thought that this was just something someone programmed into the cartridge. I had been playing the game for the entire time after dinner. I refused to play it after what happened. My brother was visibly shaken. He still wanted to prove to me that nothing out of the ordinary was wrong with the game, so he played it with me, watching the next morning. He switched on the game without incident. The start, menu, and player select screens were all normal. He chose the start cup and started the first race. All the characters looked normal, except things were very wrong. The borders of the side of the tracks didn't display their usual Wario Stadium. Instead, they read, "You will pay." When the race started, like he too had a menacing smirk on his face. Evil would have been the best way to describe it. After the sign said the number, it said die rather than go. Every time someone slipped on the banana, they didn't make the cheerful cartoon outburst that they would normally make. Their cart would suddenly sputter out and black smoke would begin to fume out of the engine, accompanied with their screams and cries for help. My brother's character, Luigi, hurled his first close-range shell in the entire race. It hit Yoshi with an explosive crash, and his car went into pieces. The familiar little dinosaur was now bisected just past the spine, crawling along the track and begging for this to end. My brother was now visibly perturbed, but he pressed on and finished the race. Right when he passed the finish line, a distorted version of the victory theme played, accompanied by a slow, distorted, demonic laugh and several explosion sounds. As Luigi made his victory lap, all the racers whose carts were smoking had died as their cart exploded. Charted 64-bit body parts littered the course as a plume of smoke hovered over the racetrack. In front of all of the racers' names, it said RIP. After this all was finished, he shut it off. The TV stayed on as he flicked the switch, and Mario appeared on the screen. His cart was a mangled mess. Besides his sprawled body, bones protruded from his arms, and legs and patches of flesh were missing, revealing his muscles. His organs laid strewn on the floor around him as his body uncontrollably twitched in agony. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with tears. Blood and bruises covered his painted face. He was painted as if he were about to die. Mario had lost his cheerful animation look and donned a dready solemn. He slowly wept as he gave a grave warning. You never should have cleared this data. His history, his record has died. Now you will die too. You have driven him to this, so you must watch us suffer. After all of that, those words appeared on the screen in the game's colorful upbeat. You have driven us. You have driven him. My brother refused to play through the game's torture any longer. He couldn't after seeing the game he loved for so long being perverted into this. I agreed to play in his place, so in exchange, he got a video camera to immortalize this madness. I had to scorn courage to turn that system back on. Blood and gore by itself didn't bother me. It was seeing all of the suffering. It was too much. But something inside me pushed the power button on the N64. I wish I had it, in the interest of my peace at mind and my sanity. The title screen showed the character going down the hill. Donkey Kong was splitting Luigi's skull in half with a buzzsaw, as opposed to hosting up a green shell. The look on his face wasn't one of mischief either. It was one of those pure bloodlust of sick elation from being the orchestrator as such chaos and carnage. Peach, Yoshi, and Mario had looks of primal fear at the scene, obviously trying to drive away. A cloudy lighting, muddled sky replaced the mild orange offset. Flames danced in the distance as what sounded like a heartbeat played in the place of a cheery soundtrack. Oh my god, the amount of words that they tried to describe with this, and they still have misspelling. They have so many like big words, but they still misspell a lot. Jesus Christ. Okay, the exuberant, excited "Welcome to Mario Kart" was replaced by the sobs of Mario. The entire sight disgusted me, but I managed to press start. The game encapsulated me straight into player screen select. The character expressions of all the characters had all drastically changed. All of the good characters, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad, had the expression of utter horror on their face. Some shook their heads nervously while others remained completely still. Bowser, Donkey Kong, and Wario were unanimously showing bloodlust. Not a playful, menacing look, but one of pure greed and evil. I moved over to Toad and selected him. Instead of his happy trademark "Wahoo!" he started to weep mournfully. I was starting a race on a more dejected than usual version of Bowser's Castle. The music was the same, except it was lower pitched and much more ominous sounding. It sounded so creepy, it disturbed me. The first thing that I noticed that Peach was missing from the starting lineup. Ridiculed was even more nefarious looking expression than he did earlier in the Wario Stadium race. The same disturbing introduction produced itself once again. 3, 2, 1, die! All the cars sped past the bridge. A flame shooting statue of a demon stood in place of where Bowser would normally be. Bowser, Wario, and Donkey Kong all veered off and took their place next to the statue. An audible conversation could be heard. The satanic figure speaking in tongues, not uttered by mortal men. What? All three of the villain characters appeared to be able to speak and understand this language. God, this is so stupid. Suddenly, a burst of flames shot out and killed Luigi. The three characters laughed in a sick tone, a tone that implied that they were loving the sight of such dismay. Who wrote this? Some like Redditor? Oh my god. Luigi's flesh was charred and his muscle was exposed in many places. As the villains all laughed, the demon repeated that cryptic, reoccurring message: "You have driven us." Peach's fate was soon dismally apparent, as Mario and I drifted the corner to evade the deadly torch of the demon's breath. I spotted her behind the bars of a womp cage. She was tied to him with a thick rope. Her eyes were missing their sockets as she cried blood. Thick, coagulated blood stains the entire front of her dress. Every time the greenish rock thumped the ground, she threw up blood, creating a pool that filled up the entire bottom section of the translucent torture chamber. Through her torture, she emotionless choked out this resounding message: "You have driven them." With a final thump, pieces of her body went flying everywhere. The womp laughed in the same tone the three villains did. Mario and my character, Toad, were the only ones alive at this point. After what happened to Peach, my brother threw up in his mouth a little. I asked him if he had gotten everything on camera. He did, so I unpaused the game and continued the race. I had managed to dodge the burst of flames emitting from the demonic statue of all 3 laps. At this point, it wasn't even about winning or losing. It was about keeping my character alive. I didn't know what other dark forces this game possessed. Whatever was inside the game making all this happen. It wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, and I doubted its capacity for mercy. This is assuming it would show me any should it possess it. I don't know what would happen to my character if I let him die. I didn't want to find out. This was no longer game. I felt as if someone's life was in balance, possibly mine. I finished first ahead of Mario, but the somber sounding version of the losing theme played. Again, it said RIP in front of our names, except this time it was different. This time it said Richard, which was my actual name. The screen faded out to a womp laughed, which was scary in itself. I was then delivered to a sick version of a familiar environment. It was Rainbow Road, but there was no rainbows. Patterns of flesh, veins, eyeballs, and other various internal body parts created the floor. Wario, Bowser, and Donkey Kong weren't present at this race. Mario and I were alone waiting in grim anticipation for the race's dejected beginning. Our carts left tracks of blood. I went down the long track at the beginning. Mario performed a special trick. If you hop right before the drop gets steep, your cart will fly above everyone else. You will have a slight advantage. When Mario hit the ground, his wheels flew off of his cart. His body landed on the track with a hyper-realistic crunch as he cried out in pain. His legs and arms were broken. He pleaded with me to end it. He yelled out to me as I passed, "Run me over, and my suffering. Drive me." The sky was filled with stars as usual. The music played was sped up, backwards rendition of Royal Runaway's soundtrack. The neon sign was altered. Instead of the happy-looking depictions of characters, they were in agony. Each of them suffered some sort of grotesque death. The three villainous characters just gave me menacing looks. They were all casting incredulous death stares at my character. They also had speech bubbles saying things like, "You will burn." One of the comments especially disturbed me. It said, "You have driven us. You will pay." It was the final lap now. Like he too laughed. I could have sworn I heard something chuckle in my room. My brother did, and that was it for him. He told me to turn off the game or he was leaving. I obviously couldn't do that. I had no idea what would happen to Toad if I quit right then. I couldn't get past the guilt. Now it was a matter of life and death. The game conveyed the character's range of emotions so accurately, much too accurately. It felt like if I left Toad hanging, I would be condemning him to an eternal hell. I had to keep playing. Mario was still lying there. He was barely alive, begging to be put out of his misery, but I refused to give him the satisfaction to the game. I completed the race, and just like the last time, it said R.I.P. Richard. My place now read 666 instead of number 1. I got really scared. How the hell did this game know I was playing? How could it speak to me? How did it know my name? Never before had a game elicited emotions of such magnitude, elicited fear primal. I persevered, hoping all this madness would soon come to an end so I could preserve my sanity. What I saw next will haunt me forever. Toad spawned in front of Mario 64 Castle and Royal Raceway. All of the greenery was ablaze, and the waterfall filled with surrounding mode of blood. Macabre figures could be seen in the distance. I don't know how you say that. The sky was black and filled with lightning as bursts of lava erupted in the distance, where the yellow sand should have been laid. The yellow flesh-like ground I encountered on Rainbow Road. I legitimately feared for my life at this point. This place looked like hell. No, was hell. It had to be. Pressing on in gripped fear, I approached the winner's podium as blood flew up behind me. Bowser was first, Donkey Kong in second, and Wario in third. They were all laughing as the fire-breathing demon from Bowser's castle stood behind them with a greedy smirk. The floating fish was above, a look of stark bloodlust cast across the eerie shadowed face. Behind the podium stood the characters in the states right before they died, disfigured and clinging to life, except their eyes were all missing. They were bleeding like Peach was earlier, that soulless look looming in their sockets. They were unable to see anything, but they were staring at me. Their face no longer displayed expressions of suffering or anguish. They were blank. But for any expressions, you have driven us, they said, as one. Suddenly, the swelling noise was made, as if the trophy was about to come out. Instead, it was much different. Blood went everywhere as a huge sword came down and sliced Bowser in half. The demon tore apart everyone else as Toad watched. He spared Toad for a reason. At the last moment, Toad turned to face the screen, his eyes now profusely bleeding and soulless. He chanted in unison with the demons beside him, "You have left us. You have damned us. You have driven us." Then the game shut off by itself. I tried removing the cartridge, but it burned my hand. It was steaming on the surface, so I took a nearby sweater and threw it on to my driveway. I got my brother to burn it with me. While it was burning, we decided to see if the footage had been properly captured. The video had disappeared. My brother said he stopped the recording within the limits, so it should have been there. All we found was a single picture. It was a portrayal of Mario crying blood, as he did in the game. It read, "You have driven us." On the bottom, as the outer plastic melted from the game's shell, the sound of screams came from my room. I ran into my room to see what was going on. The door of the bathroom was open. I walked in. I pushed to the point of tears. The sink was filled with blood. Written on the mirror were the words, "It will never end. You have driven us." Okay, a couple of things. All right, so this writer wrote a story, right? And yeah, creepypasta, right? You can anyone can write a story with a ton of complex words, just different types of stuff that you just opened up a thesaurus and then you just wrote the different version of that word. Yeah, anyone could do that. But you have to write a good story if you're going to do that. It's not very good for many reasons. Obviously, the part where that stereotype of, oh, here's a free game, you can get a refund with this. And the fact that they just could have just, unplugged the game or whatever. In certain situations, you just think to yourself, why would anyone do this? What's the point in this? I don't understand it. It's kind of stupid. And yeah, this one's pretty stupid. I didn't like this one. Further down, Teletubbies, the truth. I really can't tell if this story is a joke, and many people just fell for it. I saw a lot of videos pop up when I was working on this. This is pretty ridiculous and is up there with all the fake things that churches say about stuff like Pokemon. I just really have to give this a read. It's up there. In the years since I stopped watching television, I'd never forgotten the Teletubbies. Something there hung with me, a foreboding, something that the digitally enhanced colors, litly childhood music, and fluffy impush dancing couldn't wipe away. Something dark, darker than most expected. And no, I'm not haunted by the alleged liberal agenda of the show. I don't care that a bunch of right-wing folks feel threatened by some puffy dance TV show. No, it was something else that I couldn't put my finger on. What was it that reasoned so deep in the core of me about Tinny Winnie, Dipsy, Lala, and Poe? I woke one night in sweat. The revelation came to me, and it shook me to my marrow. It was so much more complex than any child can grasp. So thick is the subtext that it could be misinterpreted or missed completely by the adults that were watching. Only those who feared the agenda only had it partially right. It's not a liberal agenda. It's simply a warning. Teletubbies is a dark Orwellian nightmare about a genetically engineered slave class creatures being systematically trained to become part of our society. In order for you to see what I mean, you need to TiVo or tape any episode. Just check the listing of your local PBS station. Just watch one and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Then perhaps the words that follow the evidence I provide will resonate within you as they do in me. Well, no backstory has been provided on the show about where the Teletubbies are or where they come from. One thing is clear, they are not in control of their own destiny. 3 things control their lives. First, the voice. A tiny female voice that tells them where to eat, when to sleep, and when to say goodbye. The robotic maternal voice blasts from the speakers implanted on the ground, hinting that something large lies underneath and is consistently vigilant. The second is Nunu, a harmless looking anthropomorphic vacuum cleaner robot who wanders after them, cleaning up their messes that they make and passively scolding them for bad decisions. The Nunu is a watchdog, a control tool of powers that have placed the Tubbies there. The third is the Triumvirate, is the icon, menacing pinwheel. The pinwheel is a true power in Tubbyland, a mystical godhead that simple-minded Tubbies worship. When the pinwheel spins, the Tubbies stop whatever they're doing and run to the top of the hill, where they perform a ritual of gods in the sky, trying to curry favor. They gestate and roll around like puppies, having their bellies rubbed, trying to win the ultimate prize. And only one is favored. Only one can be chosen. When that one is chosen, they are blessed by having a genetically implanted bioelectric television screen on their abdomen activate. The Tubby is rewarded not only by being the pinwheel's messenger to the other Tubbies, a mouthpiece if you will, but also apparently by the physical orgasm of joy at the activation of the screen. And what does the screen show? It shows an indoctrination film. Here is the world of man and one of its customs. Learn for you and soon join us. Live among us and serve us. A message from the pinwheel god. I call it Revnaku just because it sounded cool. When the ritual of the indoctrination is done, the Tubbies return to their day, childlike and innocent. Finally watching over it all in the sun baby, the innocent, benevolent soul of humankind hangs over it all, illuminating Tubbyland. You see, we're all guiltless in this. We have chosen for ourselves the form of a child, an infant. What could be more guilt-free and benevolent? Cooning baby. It is a form that the child tubbies will understand and not fear. A form used to hide the watchful totalitarian eyes that peer out from the darkness. The powers that control Tubbyland have made it beautiful, green and colorful, temperature controlled. I have not determined yet if it's an island or another planet. I'll lean towards planet. The bunker they live in seems to resemble some buried spacecraft. Wherever they are cut off from outside influence. Anyone who has ever watched The Prisoner can make the connection quickly. Like the Elio from The Time Machine, they are kept simple, stupid, sated, and enslaved in a place of vibrant beauty. Lambs to the slaughter, the better to devour you with, my dear. I beg you to watch and decide for yourself. It's all there and on the screen, and finally for me, all the pieces fit. Children enjoy it, and they should, for the colors and the nonsense. For adults, it should be chilling, warmful times to come in future. It is a mortal tale about the potential dangers of cloning, genetic manipulation abuse by others who think themselves benevolent. The Tubbies are altering us to a future where genetic crafted, angriest worker beings, with the entertain centers being built into them, will serve us. Slaves who will stumble, will babble their way through our world, pleasing us, for we are Revnaku. We are soulless, immortal gods of their world. We demand their obedience. We demand that they perform and dance for us. Teletubbies is simply a warning about the encroaching darkness, the decay of human spirit as it ages, fat, bloating, and raping not only in the natural world, but the world in future, possibly. Teletubbies is about the end of the world. That was ridiculous. Everything about that was ridiculous. God, let's move on, seriously. Aladdin is dead. This is my first creepypasta, and I tried to leave out as many cliches as I can. If you use my creepypasta on haunted gaming, then give me a shout out. He wants a shout out from Mudahar, alright. So here we go. I was on my computer searching for cool glitches to do on SNES, and I found a glitch called Aladdin is Dead. I clicked on the picture for it and saw that his eyes were gone. No blood flowing from it, just jet black where his eyes should be. I said, cool, I will try it on my emulator. I did the glitch and my game froze, so I said I knew it wouldn't work. So I went to play Super Mario World and beat Bowser. I said I wanted to play Aladdin, so I did. And when I started the game, I noticed Aladdin had no eyes, just jet black like the glitch said. So I thought, hey, the glitch worked, but I had no idea it was evil. I started the game and the monkey, I forgot his name by the way, looked like an IMP, or I don't know what that meant, but that's not the worst part. The worst part is whenever I could jump on someone, they decompose, and then I would beat the level, and instead of the genie showing up, the devil would appear, and the wheel would be pentagram. So I spun it, and I landed on one of the points, and the devil started chanting a very unsettling ritual, it sounded like, and then and then that is when I tried to turn off the game. He said, no, you're mine now. And then my door slammed closed by itself, and the devil stuck his hand out of the screen and said, your soul is mine. That was the longest sentence in my life. Oh my God. Then he started to suck my soul once. He finished, my power went out, and well, let's just say I am a ginger without the hair. Okay, well, wow, okay. I don't want to say that. I won't be doing as many intros to these entries moving forwards because of how short some of them are, and just so I can get a reaction out of this shit firsthand. That was amazing. Oh my God, that just run-on sentence was just perfect. Just perfect. I don't know. Props to you. That was actually a really good creepypasta. Just everything cliche about it. I know this is definitely just a troll pasta. Spongecry.avi. Remember those old SpongeBob episodes which some of us used to watch in 1999 from season 1? Well, recently a secret episode has been discovered from that time period. The other day I was searching through my computer when I came across a notepad document deep within System 32. Having no idea how it got there, I scanned it for viruses. It had one Trojan in it. I deleted it and opened it up. All that was printed was one website link, followed by the following gibberish. I call it diff. Having not a single clue what it meant, I continued by putting the site link, which I won't tell you in case anyone out there is fucking stupid enough to try it, into my web browser. It took me to a site where there was a black background and a huge button. It had the same text on it that was in the notepad document. I clicked it, and it brought up a download link. The file wanted to be downloaded was called spongecry.avi. As crazy as I am, I went ahead and downloaded it. Big mistake. The second the download finished, which was a 4.6 megabytes, my computer made the weirdest sound ever and turned off. As I tried to reboot it, nothing happened. The file must have destroyed my computer. As upset as I realized I was on my old PC. I hopped over my Mac and re-downloaded it. This time there was no problem. What was downloaded was a single .avi file. The movie clip was 6 minutes and 4 seconds long. It started out as any SpongeBob episode would, except the color was distorted, and when he got to playing the flute with his nose, I immediately went to the title screen. All that was on the title screen was the following words: SpongeBob Cry. Only there wasn't any jaunty music like there usually was. It lasted about 2.5 seconds, and it didn't show who the writers or directors were. I just assumed that whoever put it online had edited it for time or something. The episode started out inside SpongeBob's house. It showed SpongeBob sitting in his red chair. The strange thing was, all the other furniture was gone. SpongeBob was crying, very hard. But it didn't sound anything like it does when SpongeBob normally cries. It sounded like a real human cry, but it was still different. It sounded so real and tense. SpongeBob was absolutely bawling. He was ripping chunks out of the chair. Then, the camera zoomed really close onto his face. But it was the kind of zoom as if it was a video taped by a real person. Then the camera zoomed out to show a rotting corpse of Gary laying on the floor in front of him. It was very disturbing. Gary was absolutely mauled to death. His eyes were laying on the floor. His shell was cracked to reveal a very gross image of the inside of Gary, which looked a whole lot more like what would have really happened in an episode where Gary loses his shell. The camera was moving around like crazy. SpongeBob suddenly got out of his chair and ran straight forward. Then the episode stopped moving for about 1 second, and then it goes to black for 2 seconds. Then it comes back with SpongeBob's face pressed against the camera with his mouth exploded open and eyes black in the deafening loud scream. I jolted up and turned my volume down, and then the camera started moving around like insanity. What? You can't ever tell what is going on. It was worse than anything Pokemon could ever put out. This clip goes to black for 1 minute and 38 seconds. It comes back inside the Krusty Krab, dead silence. All of a sudden, the same face that was pressed against the camera appeared, but this time the scream was literally deafeningly loud, but it was only lasted for about 1/4 of a second. Then for the rest of the movie, it goes back to SpongeBob crying in the chair, but after 10 seconds, SpongeBob gets a little bit more decayed, and the sound gets a little more distorted. By the end, all there was left is static and crying, but then you see SpongeBob running again in the background of the static. But for the last 4 seconds, there's a text on the screen and it reads, "On times badly," or "One timed action will be badly." Exactly that, as if it was written by a preschooler. After the clip finished, my computer shut down. After seeing the video, I've never been the same. I've been angrier, crueler, and more anxious than I've ever been before. It was haunting my mind all the time. I regret downloading the video in the first place. I wish I could go back in originally posted by Newgrounds user El Burrito. Alright, so a couple of things now, because I cut out the whole second part of this story because the original story is really what was really interesting about this and why it's so terrible. And the rest is kind of terrible too, but it doesn't really add much besides it tries to put an origin story and how him and his friend hacker tried to figure out all the coded messages and everything about the story, and it's not very interesting. Also, that took up like at least 28 minutes of this whole video, so I decided to just cut that whole entire section out because that I just wanted to summarize to you exactly what was in that section, and it was not anything very interesting. It's really boring. I started actually falling asleep, as I will describe in a second. I literally wasn't paying attention to the story at that point because it was just like some girl about a girl who couldn't get over this person that she was dating or was divorcing or whatever, an animator. She trying to curse them pretty much, and it was pretty dumb. It was not a good story, and I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna play the rest of it because it's not worth listening to the rest of the 20 minutes of that this story is. So I'm just summarizing what exactly it was not good. A little post-mortem advice to the lovesick girl who made Evan's life a living hell. He said he didn't want anything to do with you. He's happy with his new wife in life. When a guy drops your ass, no means no, bitch. God, that was an interesting story. That was very long. I didn't expect it to be that long. It was definitely longer than I thought so, but yeah, that was a little snippet of exactly what the story was. Yeah, this story was not really interesting in any way, shape, or form. It was just kind of a revenge plot, and they went to the police about it. I mean, honestly, it's not. I don't recommend listening to the rest of the story or actually hearing out the rest of it. It's not interesting whatsoever. Besides the whole entire, just like they try to describe this whole entire plot about just this lady who was able to make a whole cartoon, and just no, I don't understand it. It doesn't. Oh my god, I don't like it. I didn't like it, but maybe you could like it. Just listen to the rest, I guess. Go to the Trollpasta wiki, it's there for a reason. Charlie the Killer, yet another stupid creepypasta that is trying to follow in the footsteps of Jeff the Killer. Honestly, at this point, I can't tell who's trolling and who just sucks at writing stories. It's really hard to know. Well, anyways, I think it's still fun to read these stories to see what people will try to come up with this time and how they will try to expand on the story, which of course they never do, so it's very fun. Jeff is nearly 18 now, and meeting Jane the Killer was a big thrill for him, as she died a tragic death from falling down the stairs. But this didn't stop his psychopathic ways. The falling down the stairs is in quotations. Charlie was going through a rough bullying stage at school and was beginning to get depressed, and hearing voices on her head. They were telling her to do stuff. She just put them to the back of her mind and carried on with getting shoved in lockers and beat up in girls' bathroom. She heard the voices screaming at her until one day she snapped and listened to the voices in her head and pulled out a copper piping from the wall and stabbed her bully to death, then licked the blood off the pipe. She leaned near the bully's body and whispered, now you know how I feel when you call me ugly, and said I was too fat to meet anyone who'd like me, and that I was a whore who should kill myself. After she realized what she had done, ran away. She didn't feel bad about this. Actually, she was quite glad. She wanted to do it more. So Charlie went out, killed more people just because she liked the feeling of knowing she wasn't in fear anymore. Charlie was never a mean girl. She'd always just sit there and take the crap. She had beautiful eyes with brunette hair, but she started wearing really dark makeup and dyed as in like kill her hair black. She read the Jeff the Killer stories and looked further into this, as Jeff was her inspiration. She went on and started doing what Jeff did. She used to say, don't go to sleep. I want you to feel the pain I went through. Then she would pull out their guts and burn them on their own stomach acid, watching as blood would fly everywhere. Charlie became the talk of the town. One day she went on a search for Jeff the Killer. She looked everywhere, hoping that one day they'll meet. Charlie finally met Jeff. Jeff looked at her. He didn't say anything. His eyes were locked onto hers. He walked up to her and brushed her hair behind her ears and kissed her on the cheek. Charlie blushed and questioned Jeff. Why do you like someone like me? I'm just a fat, ugly whore. Oh my god! Jeff looked down at the floor and then looked up at Charlie again.
You're the most beautiful girl I've ever met. You're not that ugly. Alright.
Jeff spoke.
I think that we should be together. I heard a lot about you and I was fascinated.
Charlie started blushing as Jeff grabbed her cheek and brought his lips closer to hers. She pushed away. Why did
you push away. Don't be scared of me, please, Jeff said as they stood down an alley in the rain. Jeff, you don't know what I've been through. All I do is push people away. Charlie whimpered as tears started streaming down her face. I will always love you no matter what happens, Jeff said, wrapping his arms around Charlie. I have the urge to kiss you, but I feel as though if I do that, you'll just leave me. My father left me after violently beating me and my mother. I don't want to fall in love with you, as then I have to trust you, and I don't want to end up killing myself like my mother. Charlie began to explain. I will never hurt you. You're the most precious thing to me. I've been waiting to meet you as soon as I heard about you. After being with each other for 2 years, Jeff decided it was time that Charlie and him should get married. Jeff leant down on one knee. Will you do me the honors of becoming my wife? Jeff opened up the case to see a gorgeous ring with little diamonds going around the edges. Yes! Charlie squealed in joy. Yes, I will marry you. As tears of joy streamed down both of their faces, they went back home. A week before the wedding, Charlie sits down at the bottom of the bed and began to cry. What's wrong? Jeff curiously asked. I'm pregnant! Charlie cries. What? Jeff says surprisingly. I'm 13 weeks pregnant. I was going to tell you before, but I wanted to make a big fuss. And then we lose it. Charlie!
That's great news.
Yeah, this is more like a fanfic. Someone wrote this intentionally. They're Charlie. They're like, yeah, I love Jeff the Killer. I'm gonna write a story where I'm with Jeff and we're married and I love Jeff. And yeah, it's just one of these fangirls. Someone just really loved this story way too much. This story is terrible. There's so many spelling mistakes that I probably didn't even like read correctly, but especially at the beginning with the on her head, that was just dumb. The whole thing is just dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Dude, I don't want to talk about the story anymore. It's terrible. No, we're not talking about the story anymore. I'm done. All right, next one. Killer Luna. Do you remember that old Playhouse Disney show, Bear in the Big Blue House? Well, if you remember the show, then you probably remember Luna the Moon. Deep inside Luna, she is soulless and bloodthirsty. I was working at Walt Disney World in Florida as a janitor, as I was cleaning inside the soundstage when I encountered a tape of Luna from Bear in the Big Blue House. The label said Luna 666 written in red ink. I put the tape in the nearby VCR and hit play. The picture faded in and it said Killer Luna in big red letters. The show started out normal with the intro, but the film had a red tint and got darker and darker and darker after the intro. After the intro, it showed a stroller with maggots and a layer of dust all over it. A round object with a white glow was in the stroller with loud crunching noises. It cut to a faded image of Luna with red foam coming out of her mouth, and there was extremely loud screaming in the background. Then it showed Luna eating a little boy with a striped shirt with a lollipop in his hand. His eyes were missing and veins were coming out of his eye sockets as Luna ate away at his brains. Then it cut to Luna screaming for 5 minutes and then it faded out. The tape ejected, I vomited. Apparently one of the writers that used to be an animator had a history of poor mental health. He used the animation skills to create Killer Luna tape. The man then crawled into his bathroom with a gun and committed suicide by shooting himself in the temple. I quit my job in Florida and moved to New York. I've never told anyone this story, not until now. Wow. Okay, I'm glad that this one was short. But a couple of things, right? So they just leave a tape there, just lying around there, you know, a label with Luna 666. That's a little interesting, and I don't understand a lot of the themes in like a lot of these lost media, like why they exist, and I don't really have much to say about the story either. This one's kind of just like, it's kind of generic. It's just like everything else, lost media wise. It's just lost episode creepypastas are not like these ones aren't gonna like be like ever shown anywhere. Like it's just like, oh, lost episode, right? It's not. Still a fun read. Over the Hedge 2. If you know me in real life, then you probably know that I'm actually obsessed with Over the Hedge growing up. It used to be a tradition for me to watch this movie at least 3 times every year, and I found the movie very fun and I always enjoyed it. It's a great movie. I think that everyone should actually watch it. It did also put me through a rabbit hole with Ben Folds 5 and Ben Folds after just listening to the amazing soundtrack that was Over the Hedge. Anyways, that's irrelevant like the story, but I bet that it will try to be scary and have a lot of blood, even though that it says it's a sequel of the greatest animated movie ever. Alright, let's just get right into it. So one day I was walking around some Walmart and I eyed upon one beautiful sight. It was Over the Hedge 2, a sequel to my absolutely favorite movie. I grabbed the only copy before anyone else could. The case was red and there was a tear in both Vern's eyes, which I didn't notice until I got home. I zipped to the cashier and put it on a conveyor belt as fast as I could. The store was about to close and it came up as $0. I didn't read enough creepypastas to avoid that little trick, so I got it. When I got home, I scurried to the DVD player and looked at the case. I noticed that the red cut in both Vern's eyes as he was smiling and gave 2 thumbs up. The fact that Heather was missing from the cover and that RJ's eyes were angered, I was guessing that someone accidentally torn the cover and that DreamWorks couldn't put Heather in for whatever reason. But I was still suspicious about RJ's eyes. When I popped in the disc, there was no commercials, but instead a black screen with the gay gas theme playing for 2 minutes. And then it went to the title screen, which gave me a heart attack. It was the same title screen, but all the bags were torn apart. The glass was cracked, and all the price tags were 666. The bee was laying down dead with a butcher knife in its belly. Okay. The Shrek 3 trailer bag had Slenderman on it. The music was remixed in G major. Okay, very specific. The Hammy's Boomerang Adventures bag had no Hammy on it, and no text either. And when the truck drove by, you could hear the truck noise, and then screeching, a girl screaming, and then a crash. I chose to start the movie, and then there was the old DreamWorks opening, even though I saw no DreamWorks logo on the case. But I looked at the case and saw a normal back, but due to the blood stain making the words, "Help me, I was too weak to stop it, please don't pop in the disc," I expected this to be a sick joke, and somebody hacked into the title screen. I was wrong. As I heard the clicking of coins and buttons, I saw the vending machine with Heather's head in this first slot. The price tag said, "You're dead, little girl," which I hoped referred to Heather because I wasn't a girl, and I was nowhere near little. And it got stuck before falling, and RJ yelled, "No, that's fresh meat. That was just..." As he banged the machine, he continued, "Sitting right there." And everything after that was normal, until he saw Vern's cave. RJ said, "Vince, no, bad idea, as normal, but then I heard a demonic voice. "I control over you. You cannot make your own choice." RJ crying went up near Vince's cave, that part where he hit the "Do not feed the bear" sign. He looked up and saw some red tags and heard RJ screaming and some biting and some evil laughter. Me, scared out of my skull, I reversed to see what killed RJ. It was a red demon with a key. I expected it to be RJ's captor. Next was the bark scene, which was normal, but then the porcupine father gave his children the bark. The children rejected it as usual, but said nothing. When Vern brought the sticks to the log, he grabbed some bark, but it wasn't bark. It was instead a hand still moving. Every time Vern took a bite, the hand stretched its fingers out. After a while, the scene got more and more distorted. Eventually, Vern got over the hedge. You said it. And RJ was standing in front of Vern, which was strange because RJ got killed. RJ grabbed Vern by the neck and tied him to a rocket and blasted him off into the sky. It didn't show what happened afterwards though. RJ entered the hedge and everyone was excited and grouped hugged him. But he said goodbye, weaklings, and took out a chainsaw and killed all the animals, besides the porcupine children who were too short for his chainsaw. Eventually the screen was blood red and RJ appeared saying, "Whoever was foolish enough to watch this movie will go with the other fools that watch this." I got so scared that I threw the disc out of the window and buried it so it would never be seen again. I also broke the case and put my over-the-hedge item in the box. in a box for 3 weeks because I was too scared of Over the Hedge because of that movie. Today, I watch Over the Hedge remembering that moment, which is why I'm posting this. Okay. Yeah, okay. Wow. That sucked, but It was definitely what I expected it to be, especially at the beginning what I said. Way to ruin my favorite movie, dude. That was my favorite movie. Dark Waters. Zelda's death. So I was going to read the story, but I couldn't find it anywhere on any of the wikis. However, the boys over at Michael Leroy did do the reading for the story, which you can go check out, link in the description. However, I don't want to leave you empty-handed, so I'll tell a different story called Legend of Zelda: Gateway to Hell. I'm a huge fan of the old Zelda games. One day I had an itch to play the original Zelda. I sold my copy to a friend a few years back, so I didn't have one. I went on Craigslist and found a copy for free. I was like, alright. I drove to the house and an old Chinese man gave me the game through the mail slot. I took it home and immediately put it on my NES. I turned it on. When the game started up, it did not show the title screen or anything. It started in the middle of the game, only looked kinda different. Nothing was there, I remembered it, and all the water was dark red like blood. There were known enemies, but there were dead people all over the ground. I continued on, thinking that it was just a glitch. I walked like 2 inches. The next screen was the final boss, and I was like, what? How'd I get here? Only I wasn't fighting Ganon. I was fighting Satan. I couldn't attack him. My sword was nothing. Then, when he killed me, and he misspelled killed, the game over screen came up, only it was the red like blood, and instead of the game over, it said come join me in hell. I immediately freaked out and took the game out. I decided to play something else to calm my nerves. I put in Mario 3 because the game's fucking awesome. When I turned it on, the red game over screen came on with a bunch of pentagrams and triple sixes. I immediately turned it off and put in another game. I turned it on, but the red game over screen came again, and this time the message, you don't want to play with me? I tried to take the game out, but it didn't work. The Super C tape slowly turned into a red Zelda tape, red like blood. The controller wires wrapped around my neck and tried to strangle me. Red squirted out of the TV and made a pentagram on me. The words on the screen changed to join my death cult, mortal. I screamed. I quickly grabbed the Nintendo Zapper next to my NES and shot the NES cartridge. To my surprise, it worked. I was saved. I was so relieved that I gave that cursed game to my friend as a funny prank. That concludes my story. Goodbye. That was perfect. Love that. That was really good. Honestly, really funny. It was just not good. Frozen Lost Clip. I used to love the movie Frozen. I had a collection of Frozen toys, and I had the movie on DVD as well. I don't look at Frozen the same way again because there was a deleted scene in the movie that Disney removed. It all started when I wanted to watch Frozen again, so I popped the disc in and I was watching the movie for a while, but all of a sudden, static appeared on the screen and then I saw a different scene instead of the other one, and this is how it started. It had Elsa, but she was disembodied and there was blood all over the ice castle. When I saw that, I had a shocked look on myself, so I thought I just saw something, but no. I then saw Anna crying. She was crying for a long time, and that's when I was getting bored, but then the scene stopped, and Anna got Elsa's head and buried it in the snow, so she could hide the evidence. And then Anna came into the town and killed everyone in the town, just in case, and gore was everywhere, and Anna had blood all over her body, and people's entrails were spilling onto the walls. Then Olaf came along and saw this, so Olaf got out a chainsaw and killed Anna, and blood was everywhere. So then Olaf was the last person, and he lived it on, and that's when the end was on the screen, meaning that it was an alternative ending. But the static came on the screen and it came back to a regular Frozen. So then I got out a basketball bat and destroyed my TV, and I destroyed almost everything in my house. I also threw away everything related to Frozen in my house, and I cut my own arm off. But then my TV turned on one last time while it was broken, and it showed a hyper-realistic Olaf staring directly at me, and then I died. After that, my life has ended. Wow, okay, so there is no way that this isn't a troll pasta. The amount of times that they just keep saying things over and over again like an essay at school, yeah, you can tell. Garfield's Horrible Joy. I'm a big fan of Garfield. You know, the comic strip character that's a fat orange cat with black stripes that loves lasagna. You probably do know about him and his huge fan base, but something that many Garfield fans don't know is that Garfield had some TV show like Garfield and Friends. The majority of these were hand-drawn shows that followed most of the traits that the strip had, but there was one show I wanted to talk about called The Garfield Show. This was a computer in the poop animated show that was like Garfield and Friends, but with much better quality and a few more characters. I loved watching the show, and so many others did. It's still going on today, but the show was supposed to end in season 4 for reasons I will tell you in a second. When I was at a garage sale looking at stuff to get, my eyes laid on a Garfield DVD which has the first 4 seasons of the Garfield Show. So I asked if I could pay for this, and the guy just told me to take it for free. I was so overjoyed that I ran to my house and put it in my DVD player. It started with the intro, and then I could choose any episode from season 1 through 4, but at the very bottom of the list there was an episode called Garfield's Horrible Joy. I had no idea what this episode was, but out of curiosity, I clicked on it. I wish I hadn't. It started with Garfield sitting on a chair and eating what looked like Odie's ears. I was a little confused, but I thought that it was just a little bit of lasagna. Then Normal came over and said hello and started talking about how he was the cutest cat in the world. This is when things got scary. Garfield then closed his eyes. For 5 seconds, they stayed closed. And when he opened his eyes, revealing 2 bloodshot red eyes. Then Garfield grabbed Normal by the neck and threw him against the wall. Then he pulled out a butcher knife that already had blood on it, indicating that he already killed something with it, and then slowly approached Normal. I was terrified at what I saw, but had to see what happened. Then Normal opened his eyes, revealing to him Garfield had bloodshot red eyes and a knife. Then Garfield stabbed Normal in the stomach, making blood splatter everywhere. Then came something that scarred me for life about eating meat. Garfield ripped open Normal's chest and ate his intestines. While Normal screamed to death, I almost threw up at the sight, but had seen the end. After that, Garfield went up the stairs and saw John working on his computer. Then John turns around. Oh, hey, Garfield then leaped up at John, stabbing his eye socket, blood everywhere as he ran around the room until he just laid there, dead. Then it showed a close-up of the closed-up door. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then Garfield's face appeared. He had a demonic, sharp teeth and huge, bloodshot red eyes. A message repeatedly flashed on the screen saying, "I'm gonna kill you, Sam, Sam, Sam." I immediately took the disc and smashed it into bits. I will never see Garfield any cat again, because every time I see a cat, I always see those red, bloodshot eyes. Watching that disc has let out a demon, and that demon is after me. As I record this, Garfield is slamming on my door, meowing his normal meow from the show, and I know that when he kills me, the last thing I will see will be those red, bloodshot eyes. Ooh. Yeah, this is great. This is great. I love it. I love it. I love it. It was great. Next, let's move on. Transformers G1 Megatron Rampage. You know, by the title, it seems like this one is kind of just going to be like, oh, you know, it would make sense. You know, Megatron's a bad guy, Rampage, killing. Makes sense. Nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, how can you turn this into a creepypasta and it be creepy? Let's see. Do not delete this pasta. I remember back in the day, my favorite show was Transformers. It was a show about robots in a battle for good and evil. I always try my hardest to collect the toys, but the prices were always insane, even for 1984, literally 1984. Fast forward to 2010, I was disappointed at the Michael Bay movies. I wanted to see the original series again. So I looked on eBay and I found season 1 for $1, and I decided to buy it to relive my childhood. 5 hours later, I got an email with a text saying information from animatedseller@hotmail.com. I opened up the file. It said, "Thank you for ordering Transformers G1 Season 1. The item will come in a regular DVD case with the Transformers picture on it, and the disc will not have a label on it." 17 days passed and the package arrived on my doorstep. I brought it to my house and I got a knife. I cut it open and the DVD was the same thing like the text file described. I put the DVD in the DVD player. The menu had an image of Optimus Prime and Megatron in chibi form. I thought that was stupid and unfitting. It had all 15 episodes of season 1 if you include more than meets the eye at the bottom of the list. There was a 16th episode titled Megatron's Rampage. I played the episode to see what it was. The episode started without the intro. It started with a Decepticon base as a close-up. We see Megatron with the other Decepticons. Megatron was planning another attack on the Autobots when Starscream said, "Why don't we wait to attack? We should attack now!" Megatron looked pissed and slapped Starscream and said in a deep voice, "The reason we wait to attack because of fuck-ups like you." Wow, yeah, okay. Wow, already off to an interesting start. Starscream replied to Megatron, "I do not consider myself a F-up. Now the real F-up is you. If I was leader, the Autobots would be piles of screws already." I said F-up because monetization. Megatron picked his arm blaster and killed Starscream. Then we see a close-up of Starscream with his now black eyes with his mouth open. Then Megatron said, "Anybody else?" Megatron stormed out of the base and went to the Autobot base. And Bumblebee went to Tailtram, one to contact Optimus Prime. Bumblebee said, "Optimus Prime, Megatron broke into the base. We need your help. Then Megatron choked Bumblebee until he was dead, like Starscream. His eyes were now black and mouth open. Then Megatron turned to the camera saying, "Matthew, I'm coming for you and I'm not fucking around." The episode ended from there. I took the DVD out and put it back in its case and took it outside and burned it with fire. But how did Megatron know my name? It's just a cartoon. I will never know. So this one and the other one are pretty much the same story. Literally the same thing. There's no way that, like, if you go back and listen to the other story, it's the same thing because it just says, "I'm gonna kill you, Sam." And then this one is just Matthew, I am coming for you, I'm not fucking around. That's literally so stupid that they just did the same story. Literally, Megatron's Rampage. I think it would have been a little bit more gruesome. I think this story would have worked had it become more gruesome, because this one would work in more sense. Like, oh, they finally won, like Decepticons. It makes a little bit more sense. This would have been cooler, but no, they missed their opportunity. Yeah, it sucks. It's getting worse. YouTube too. On YouTube, YouTube was red. Black computer died. I got up. That man had a gun. Shot me. I died. I love this story. Hi, I'm having trouble posting, so here's my story. When me and my friend was playing on a gaming website called Roblox, we came across something unusual. There was this anonymous person, so me and my friend searched through the whole map, but we couldn't find the player, even though there were other players on there talking. We found this weird, so we thought it was a glitch, until the glitch started talking to us. Because it was an OB obstacle course, the person started saying that the game we were playing now is a game in real life. I have the exact words, "Who wants to play a game?" I said that we were already playing a game. I really didn't know anything about this person. Nobody really did. So I asked him what the game was, slightly curious about what he had to say. Anybody who dies in the OB in the game dies in real life. We thought it was some internet troll trying to scare the shit out of us. So one of the players told him to leave the server or he will report him. I really didn't know what happened, but right after that he disconnected, which in a way was weird because he didn't want to leave. The player asked him to go away, but for some weird reason he disconnected. Anybody else want to complain? We didn't know what else to do. I alt-tabbed out of the server and called the police on my phone, but my phone wasn't working properly. It was in a static kind of thing. I didn't even know phones did that. Literally the same thing. Oh my god, it's just Minecraft Satan Edition. I went back into the game and I told everyone that we should leave the server. So one by one we left until there was 5 of us. I slightly scared because I didn't know what would happen if I didn't play the obby. It was probably someone trying to scare us, so me and the rest of the 4 players decided that we should play the obby and see for ourselves what would happen if we did that. I went first, then my friend, then my other 3 people. Usually when players died in an obby we would make that ugh sound, but when one of the players died, I heard an actual scream in my headphones. An actual scream. I didn't know what to do. I thought, what if all this was happening was real? I kept going and hoping that the game didn't glitch. However, whoever was doing this was some kind of murder on the internet. As I kept going, the rest of us were scared. I could tell until my friend died. I heard his scream in my headphones. It sounded just like him. I was screaming. I was crying. I didn't want this to be real, but there was nothing I could do. I kept going. I couldn't move properly because my hands were shaking. There were only 2 of us left. The rest of the players in the game are dead. When they disconnect, they are dead. I didn't want this. There were only 10 more levels still, and I haven't died yet. The other players was still with me. I told him if he died, don't die screaming. When there was 5 more levels left, I told him we were nearly there, until he landed on something. It was one of those landmine things. If you stand on one, you cannot get off. There was nothing we could do about this. He told me goodbye and jumped off. I heard his piercing scream. Then there was one. I asked him why he was doing this. He didn't answer. So this is what I said. What would happen if I leave?
You will die, Harrison.
What would happen if I win?
You will die anyway.
So I did something I regretted. I left the server. Everything was dark. My computer shut down everything. I heard whispering behind me. I turned around and there was nothing left. I go to sleep with nightmares of this dark, shadowy figure. I don't know how I'm alive, but there's one thing I know. He's coming after me. Literally the same tropes. Every single fucking story that we've read ever so far. Same fucking tropes. This just sucks. Like, no joke. I don't know why all these stories, I'm telling you, none of these games, none of these gaming creepypastas ever change, or these lost media ones. They're so terrible for a reason, because they don't understand how to write a fucking story and be creative with it. There's a lot of ways you can write a fucking Roblox story. There's just so many things you could do with it. New stuff that isn't bloody game. You could do that, potentially do that, and make the story interesting without getting any of the tropes and you dying, because that doesn't make sense. All right, I'm done. Blood whistle. So I wanted to read this one, but we're already really far into a lot of these stories, and this one is really long, so long in fact that I decided I'm just not gonna do it. But it is a Mario story, so that's all you need to really know if you do want to listen to it. I'm pretty sure that it's just another Mario creepypasta, and you could always watch Michael Leroy's game, them talking about it, because they always have one video about all these stories. Normally you'll see that. There's also Mudahar, which you could look at, old video re-uploads of his bad creepypasta series. So yeah, this story sucks too, by the way. It's not very fun listen, so I probably don't read it. Moving on. Broken. Author's note. This is my attempt at creepypasta. To extreme creepypasta fans like me, good luck sleeping. Mwahahaha. This is Broken, my creepypasta. Hope you like it. Now on to the first chapter. Aftermath. Oh, this is about a kid who is not friends with the girl he loves anymore because she doesn't like hurting him. Aftermath. I can't focus at all. I feel dead. I can't feel happy anymore. Life isn't the same without her. I miss her so much. I got a life through it because she wouldn't want me to die. Why did she have to drop me last night? I saw Slender, and then I had an out-of-body experience. I was staring at my own bloody corpse that had a slit through my bloody corpse, was crying blood, and was smiling very devilishly. I tried to wake him up, but I wasn't dreaming then. I went into my body and looked in the mirror, and I looked fine. My RJ persona faded from me and broke me worse. Redstone Jesus was what defined me, but without her, I'm not RJ. I'm my own worst enemy. Bloodshit, my persona, my new persona. It is the slim, shady version of me. I hate myself now. I can't look in the mirror without feeling pain. Let me back up about 9 to 10 months in the summer, 2012. I met her. She was beautiful and very interesting. I fell for her. She made me feel something more than empty shell. I'm crying as I'm writing this. My sanity is slipping away. I know
should get help, but it won't help. She kept my sane. She promised she wouldn't give up on me, but she did. Why? Now bloodshed was control of my mind. I feel violence. I think violence. I talk violent. Jesus Christ, longest sentence. I don't know how long I can last. Like I said before, my sanity is slipping, so if I write repeatedly, taking this hard. She was my other half. I know I'll say that again, but that doesn't matter. Right now, point is, I love her. I don't, if I keep saying that, don't like it, don't read. It will be said a lot. This is my heartbreak journal now. I will continue the aftermath, the most disturbing part of this story. Just warning you, aftermath 2. After that day started, my crying my eyes out when the room was shaking, and then I felt lighthearted, and suddenly everything went black. Luckily, I was on my bed sitting down when I fainted. After I fainted, I woke up 5 minutes later. I couldn't remember the past until I looked at my droid. Then it came back to me. I cried harder. I wanted to die, but I could not. I would have never knew it if she was going to talk to me again, but still. Anyways, you started to vision myself brutally stabbing her, screaming, "Why? How could you? I love you, and you put me through all of that for you, F you. We could have been together, but you did what the hell? You did that, what the hell?" I was scared out of my mind. I screamed, "What the F is happening to me?" Then I accepted this because I figured I'm just pissed, shrugging it off. But then I had another vision. It was vision. You know, there is a reason I call myself Bloodshed. I said the scene faded to black. Then I was staring into the eyes of what looked like some random girl my age until I saw clearer. It was not a girl. It was my Minecraft skin, which I made for my own persona, Redstone Jesus, but it was just really the girl I love. I said her name. It said, "Die, you bitch." It zoomed out. She was chained down with tape over her mouth. I slit her throat, her eyes out literally. I whispered, "All I wanted was a second chance, but no, you will burn in hell, bitch." Aftermath 3. I snapped out of it, ran to my bathroom and vomited. Then I ran to my room, get my other best friend to help, but I saw something in the corner of my eye. It was the thing. The thing was bloodied and mangled. He called himself Bloodshed like I do, but he was like all menacing. He had my voice. He said, "Hi, Redstone Jesus." I was terrified. I replied with, "I'm not RJ. I'm too much as a F up to be." It said, "You are RJ, no face, your fate." Then it disappeared. That's the story. Wow. Honestly, so it's called Broken, right? I'm pretty sure this one is troll pasta. It's great. This one with the whole entire just run on sentences, it's just amazing read. I would read this again. This one I would actually read. It's fucking awesome. It's so funny. Like I really tried not to fucking laugh while doing this because I had to do this all really quickly. I'd recommend that one. Call of Duty 6.66. Wow. Alright. Well, some of these are actually getting pretty short now. Anyways. It all started when I was walking in the woods with my friend when I came across a Call of Duty PC game. I picked it up and observed it. The title was Call of Duty, but it was in red, and the picture was quite disturbing since there was an explosion and some droopy stairs with shoes on each step leading to the path towards the explosion. I figured this could be Call of Duty 1 because it didn't have the name Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops, World at War, etc. But I know Call of Duty 1. Picture does not look like that. When I went home, I put the game in my computer and there were 3 files. Call of Duty 6.66 Ryan icon. I don't know how you say that. Call of Duty 6.66 setup/death die/game.exe. I clicked on die/game.exe. Then a menu came up instantly. There were 6 options. Play, die, options. What you would have done. 666 rules. Leave at your own risk. I clicked on play, then numbers repeatedly flashed on the screen, then I received a phone call. I didn't look at who called me, but all I heard was Hitler whisper. I hanged up, then I received a text, which was an unknown number, and it said, "Sace."
Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Sex. That German's for 666. 666 devil's number in parentheses. I nervously looked back at the computer screen and the numbers were still flashing. Yeah. No. I know I have to reread that. I nervously looked back at my computer screen and the numbers were still flashing. Several seconds later, the word gut popped up on my screen. It was neither saying gut or in guts or good, which is gut. Good. They put the German spelling for I don't. The game started. It was a first-person shooter, just like Call of Duty 1 and the others. The game was in a room, a small room with a stuffed bear on the floor. The character had no weapon but a knife. I stabbed the bear. Then there was a loud screeching sound. Then the character got a pistol and put it to his head, then fired. The game closed with an error message saying, "Your life.exe won't end. You're lucky. I will find you soon." I was incredibly shocked, but then I noticed that I wasn't even playing Call of Duty 6.66. I was playing die/game.exe. I clicked on Call of Duty 6.66 setup/death. That was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. The game instantly started with no menu or anything. Everything was pitch black on the screen except for Hitler. He was slowly walking towards me from the distance. I blinked, then he was right in front of me on the screen. His face turned pale, then the same screech sound that I heard when I stabbed the stuffed bear went off again, and the character collapsed and died. Then the screen went black, and it went straight back to Hitler's face pale, and the mouth opened streaking. I don't know how they're spelling that. No, it's shrieking. Yeah, no, streaking. Yeah. I closed the lid on my laptop in horror, but then the screech got louder. They misspelled it again. Got louder than ever. My ears were stinging horribly. Then I left the house. Fear overtook me as I saw every house was destroyed and Nazi flags were everywhere. I collapsed. I woke up in, well, I don't know, a pitch black place just like on the game. Hitler was sprinting towards me as he was screeching, and he was very far away, but I was paralyzed, so there was nothing I could do but suffer as somehow my internal organs fell out one by one as I was screaming in pain. I was looking at my organs falling out. I shouted to myself, how the hell can my fucking guts be falling out? Then I squeezed my eye closed. Then I remembered that on the game I blinked and he was right in front of me. Oh crap. I opened my eyes. Scratch! Oh my god. This is a great story. This one is a joke. There's no way that this one wasn't a troll. Yeah. I just love the .exe joke being put around everywhere, like /game/die.exe, and then it has a long name. And it's weird. Like, why put that? This is great. All right, next one. Crystal.html. So this one is kind of long. This story is really long. There's actually 2 parts of this story, and I don't remember where I cut it off. And since it's so long, we're only going to read a part of it. I was thinking about reading the whole thing, but honestly, how long this video has already turned out to be, I think we should probably just, lower that. So let's just continue. Some people tend to ask me how I got these scars on my forearm. Well, what a great start. Okay. Well, it started a few months ago. Ever since I played that horrible game. It was a fresh Saturday afternoon. I was still dressed in my pajamas while happily browsing the internet for hilarious random Sonic the Hedgehog animations. After 2 hours of browsing, a pop-up entered the screen. It was a really flashy and colorful, so I couldn't keep my eyes away. Before closing the pop-up, my eyes saw the words fan, character, and game. Then I forced my hands to stop so I could continue reading. Hey, you! Yeah, you! Guess what? You're a Sonic fan. Your Sonic character can now be in their very own online game. Now filled with the feeling of pure joy, I decided to click on the more information button. Just then my browser opened up a new tab
with an unusual sight. The background color was bland, pitch black, and there was a red box at the top of the page. Small, white text inside the red box asked me for my email address. I typed it in and hit next. Then I was asked to send an image of my character and type up their personality and backstory. After typing eagerly for approximately 2 hours, I hit submit. Jesus Christ, 2 hours. The box then said I would be receiving an email in about 2 to 3 weeks with a link to the game. After a long wait, I finally received the email with the game. A spark of excitement panged against my lungs as I clicked on the link. There it was, Crystal the Hedgehog in their very own game. The title screen was impeccable animation and the artwork was adorable. Well, however, as soon as my mouse pointer clicked play, something strange happened. Crystal's eyes widened, a grin stretched across her face, and the screen appeared to shut itself off. Once I turned the screen back on, my eyes nearly popped out of my sockets. The title screen was the same, except the sky was a purplish color, the grass was black, and the Crystal had dark gray fur and blood dripping all over her body. Then the screen rippled and changed in the color selection menu. The only character available to play at this time were Darken, the Darkhawk, Flames the Hedgehog, and Shadow the Hedgehog. I was surprised. I've never sent an image of Darken or Flames to those people who made the game for me. I selected Darken, who seemed quite confident. At the moment, the screen twitched a bit and skipped right to the loading screen of act. Boom! Okay, we're just gonna have to move on. This story is just way too long. We're just gonna move on now. And it's another Sonic one. Fuck. All right, Sonic.exe round 2. Another sequel to the best creepypasta of all times. This one is the official sequel though, and follows up a year later after what was the Sonic.exe murders. What a great name. This one is also very long, so that's why I skipped the other one, but we're going to try to get through a certain part of it because of how long this story really is. We're just going to read a part of it. It's been more than a year now since the Sonic.exe murders began to happen, and police department still doesn't know who's doing it and why it's happening. The first murders looked as though the killer did a sloppy job at it, but over time the killings, or at least some of the guys back in the station thinks it's just killings. Bodies have been starting to look like the victims just dropped dead, or there were disappearances. All the victims have seemed to each have a burned or destroyed computer with some data from a game called Sonic.exe. None of us have found any connections or clues that could help us learn why all of this is happening. Well, no, that's not true. There's one cop that may have uncovered more about the murders than we did. The guy's name was Derek Green. He's a really good detective, mainly because he's always teamed up with his sister, Chelsea. They were assigned to investigate the Sonic.exe murders. I should know because I was their boss at the time. They're both dead. Sometimes I wonder if I should have helped them. I don't know. Anyways, the boys have found Derek's diary when they were investigating his apartment. He hasn't been in his home for weeks. The diary recorded all of what Derek found in the investigation. My God, did he write down a lot. Especially after the chief of police took him off the case. And a lot of what he wrote down seems to connect a lot with what's going on with these murders. At least, I hope he was onto something. Here's what Derek found. 7:30 p.m. September 15th, 2011. Happy birthday to me. I got this diary as a gift from my sister, Chelsea. This will certainly come in handy when we both do another investigation. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Name's Derek Green. I'm a detective. Wow, I'm not really good at this. Hopefully, I'll get better as I write in this. Anyways, I'll let you know if anything happens. 11:22 a.m. October 24th, 2011. Wow. Pretty interesting way to start off a case on Halloween. Our boss has told us there's a stiff in one of the local suburbs and he wants us to check it out. Wow, been a while since me and Chelsea tackled a murder case. This might be interesting. We're in the truck right now and we're heading to the house. 2:30. Jesus. Whatever happened in this house was not what I was expecting. The victim looked like something ripped his mouth open and tried to yank something out from inside. I've seen a lot of messed up ways to kill a person, but this is just rather strange. I don't really think any normal person would do this. The cop present at the scene told us that the kid was like this for 2 days and his parents just discovered his body and called us in the morning.
What's really weird about this is that there's a badly made cut on the chest that's shaped like a number 1. Chelsea told me she found a possible clue to the murder. She told me that the victim owned a computer. The computer is badly burnt and wrecked. Both me and Chelsea have a theory on this. Either the killer destroyed the computer or the victim did it himself. Either way, we sent it to the station for research. Alright, the guys from the lab have the report. They told us that the computer wrecked from inside and out. And what I mean by that is that everything that was on this kid's computer is completely deleted, while at the same time the computer got destroyed. The only thing that seems to still be in the computer is some data from a computer game called Sonic.exe. 4:30 p.m. November 11th, 2011. A couple of more murders these last few weeks, all the same killing methods. Dead bodies, torn open mouths, destroyed computers. More recent killings are looking a little less messy, as if the killer is getting more careful and tearing out whatever it is he's tearing out from the inside of these victims' bodies. But there's also cuts on these victims' chests that seem to be in numerical order. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The killer seems to be keeping count of all the people he's killing. 8:30 p.m. Had dinner. Both me and Chelsea are brainstorming what's really going on here. It's really strange, the fact that the computers are getting destroyed every time there's a murder victim, and we find that there's some old data from the same game, Sonic.exe. That name reminds me of the times me and Chelsea played some of our old Sonic the Hedgehog video games. I remember when we used to play Sonic Heroes, she always liked playing as Rogue the Bat, and I really liked playing as Vector. But it's really weird. What does a Sonic game, possibly fan-made one at that, got to do with all these killings? 2:45 p.m. December 2nd, 2011. Another murder. Big surprise there. Now, both me and Chelsea agree that all these murders are connected with that game. Maybe the killer made it as some kind of calling card? The chief told us not to worry so much about a simple video game and just stick to what's going on with the murder. 6:30 p.m. Autopsy came in again. The doctor told us that aside from the wounds from the chest and mouth, the victims didn't seem to show any signs of a murder or a struggle. In fact, as baffling as it seems, all the victims appear to be in perfect health, apart from the fact that they're dead, obviously. I air checked the word dead because that's where the report came out as really disturbing. The doctor stated that they're all in what appears to be a persistent vegetative state, meaning that all these people are in fact still alive. Their brains and hearts are still working, but they're all in an empty, dead-like state, as if something robbed them of their minds or sense of self. Chelsea stated that it was probably one of the freakiest things that she's seen in her days as a partner, and I don't blame her. Who would be capable of actually stealing people's senses of self? It's like the devil is handpicking innocent people and robbing them of their souls for eternal damnation. Alright, let's read one more. 5:42 p.m. December 14th, 2011. Chelsea has been acting very strange lately. She seems quieter at work, and whenever we go back home, she just goes back into her room. I'm guessing she's just as determined to learning more about this case than I am. If she's onto something, I hope she lets me know first before we make it official. After all, we're a team. 2 p.m. December 19th, 2011. Chelsea didn't go to work with me. Said she wasn't feeling well. I'm starting to get a little worried about her. Ever since we took this case, she's been acting rather odd. Boss told me not to worry about it and maybe just look into what she was researching on. I might do that. Also, several news about people worshipping this guy recently. Calls himself X. I swear the things kids are into these days. 9:30 p.m. December 14th. 2011. Almost time for Christmas, though I don't know if I should celebrate. Chelsea's been shut up in her room almost every day, not responding to me. I hope she's alright. Anyways, I've been looking into Chelsea's work and I think she might have found something. Apparently the killer must be going after anyone who plays the game Sonic.exe. And once they play the game, the killer tracks them down, kills them, and keeps count by carving the numbers on their chests. What about the fact that almost every victim looks as though they had their souls sucked right out of them? Wait a minute, I remembered something. A few days ago, Chelsea came home from the store and went back into her room. She said she found a game. Oh my god, Chelsea! 12:32 a.m. The writing is a bit sloppy, and there are tears splooged here and there. Chelsea's dead. She found the game. Oh god, why? Alright, we're just gonna leave it off there. I don't think I should get any further right now. You know, this is very weird, especially at the ending, because he's just like writing as, you know, like, oh God, she's dead. Now I'm going to start writing this fucking paper. I'm like, oh God, okay. I mean, honestly, this is way more interesting than the normal Sonic.exe story, even though it's kind of like out of reach and, you know, kind of fucking, but that's the point. That is the point of this story. And it is kind of cool. I believe I've heard this story already before. Maybe there's a reason to still read it. So who knows? I don't know how you say this one. IH Soy. So it was August 18th, 2012, which was the day before New Super Mario Bros. 2 was released for the Nintendo 3DS, as well as the year the Wii U would have been released, along with many other games such as New Super Mario Bros. U's Zombie U, Luigi's Mansion 2, Dark Moon, Paper Mario, Sicker Star, shitty ass game, and many other great games. That's not a great game. This story is about my creepy encounter with one of these games, New Super Mario 2. Side note, this is written in a future perspective, in which this is supposedly being written 8 years after the events occur. This obviously isn't true, since it's still October 2012 as I'm writing this. What the fuck? Less than a year prior to the New Super Mario Bros. 2 release was Super Mario 3D Land's release, and considering I love the cape in Super Mario World and Tanuki Scoot in Super Mario Bros. 3, I purchased both games. There was only so much you could do in Super Mario 3D Land, and I 100% completed it in less than a week. Granted, I did spend almost half of my week playing it and another quarter playing Super Mario Kart 7 and messing around with the features of a newly acquired 3DS, leaving me waiting for the next Mario game to come out, eager for something else to do. I was so eager to get NSMB2 that I got it on release date, which was August 14th. For those who didn't know, well, August 19th in America. I'm not quite sure when it was released in Japan. I looked at the downloadable version price, and then I went to GameStop to see if someone had purchased it, decided that they didn't like it, and brought it to GameStop. And sure enough, some people did. In fact, they had one return copy left, and there was no picture on the front, rather a really crappy label that read New Mario 2 in sloppy cursive handwriting. At this time, it didn't bother me, and I bought it anyways. It was $1 cheaper than the downloadable version one, which was $39.90. Why would you do that? What's the point? There is no way that they would sell it for that much, especially because people do not like getting that thing off. How? Bro. Oh, hell no. Oh my God. At least they could have said like $20. At least they could have done the trope. Oh yeah, this is free. Which was $39.99 if my memory serves correctly. And I'm one for saving money, even if it's only $1. Oh my God. If you know me, you know that like I'm really cheap. Like really cheap. But even then, it's not even better quality. Just buy the downloadable copy or get a new one. If it's $40 for a new one, just get a new one. When I went to the counter to purchase it, the cashier didn't freak out about how I should just take it. He just told me I was $38.99 in the hole. So I paid for the game, gave the cashier a $3 tip, and left the store. Oh my God. Oh my God. I love that they left that in though. That like, yeah. The cashier didn't say that to me. So, you know, that's good. That's good. Right. As soon as I got home, I registered the game on Club Nintendo website, rest in peace Club Nintendo, then instantly took the game out of its case and snapped it into my 3DS. I turned on my 3DS, noticed the home menu was no longer there, but replaced with 4 options. The game, New Super Mario Bros. 2, of which the logo wasn't what it should be, but instead it was a picture of Yoshi, but his eyes were bloodshot, and whites in his eyes weren't really white, and it was disturbingly noticeable different shade of red, and the difference was barely noticeable at the time. There was blood dripping on his chin. Sorry, I got nervous. This freaked the crap out of me, and sorry about that. This freaked the crap out of me, and I instantly shut off my system. There were 3 other options before I continued with the story, were DS Download Play, PictoChat, and Game Boy Advance Cartridge Play. Although both PictoChat and GBA Cartridge Play were crossed out since the 3DS didn't have these features, the original DS and DS Lite, however, they did. That's the other reason I freaked out. I now own 2 DS Lites, or so I thought. Later, I'd taken the cartridge out and found that everything that was on my 3DS prior to the incident was perfectly intact. After turning the system on and off again several times, thinking that it was a glitch, I realized nothing would change, and I decided to select the game. When I did, however, the console shut off again, making a loud popping noise as it did. It turned back on 1 or 2 seconds later. When the console restarted, I started in the main menu of the game, looking as if I had seen it on Game Explain, okay, or other videos I've seen on YouTube when I select the first option. However, there was only one used file, the third one, but Mario's face wasn't on the file, rather a picture of an extremely demonic Yoshi on the logo. There was one available file, the first one. The second one was simply grayed out with a word, "not enough memory space to proceed," written all over it. I simply ignored this and decided to check out what progress the third file had on it. To my surprise, the guy had already 100% completed the game, and he had collected several million coins, something that I had somehow missed in the main menu. One thing I did wonder was, how in the world could someone have collected 4.5 million coins in just a few hours? This game couldn't possibly have given the player that many coins. The game couldn't have possibly been that easy to complete at 100%. He'd either use Game Shark or live action replay or something, or he's just a completely extreme hardcore Mario fan. Most likely the first. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, this game just came out like just then at that point, I guess. He was in the Star World. I touched the World 1 icon on the touchscreen, but I found myself being teleported to the new Super Mario Bros. Wii world map. Wow, cool. This really didn't bother me that much, except for the fact that the fortress looked like the new Super Mario Bros. Wii one, as opposed to the new Super Mario Bros. 1 and the one I'd seen in the Star World. That did not sound confusing at all. I entered the first level and played through it. It played through just as it had in the various videos that I had seen on YouTube, but with different graphics. The question mark on the block were written in blood as it appeared, and whenever I stomped on Koopas or burned a Koopa, there was a small blood stain on the screen where the enemy was. I beat the level with 2 star coins, 666 coins, and 333 seconds remaining. By the way, 2 divided by 666 is 333. Oh my god, I hate this so much. Right then, a message box popped up and read, "You should have stopped sooner. It is too late now." The next part is where I decided it was either a hacked copy or a haunted copy. I re-entered level 1-1 to find the 3rd star coin, but all I found was in fact the level was just an ocean of blood now. When I reached the midpoint, the picture of the abused Yoshi showed up on my screen. I had 3D on, so I was scared half to death. I used to be a huge fan of Yoshi, but starting then, it wasn't quite the same anymore. When the picture disappeared from the screen, my player was gone, and in his place was Yoshi, pleased, as though he had just finished eating Mario. And my proof that he did, I lost a life. I appeared on the world map, but now it wasn't just Mario anymore. Now I was a neglected version of Mario, just like Yoshi. Mario's eyeballs were bloodshot, and blood was dripping from his chin. He was crying. I concluded here that the demon passed from person to person as a demonic person murdered another, or Yoshi was presumably perfectly fine now. I proceeded through the level, although it wasn't me that was controlling it. Mario was controlling himself. Rather, Oiram was controlling himself. I call him Oiram since Oiram was Mario backwards, and since he wasn't really Mario anymore, he's really just backwards, twisted version of himself. Therefore, the demonic Yoshi was really just soy. So, I forgot that this is like the really, really also long, bad Mario story. This is already terrible, by the way. But yeah, this story is really long, and I just thought I'd give you a little snippet. If you thought it was interesting, then you should, I guess, go listen to it yourself. I bet you're not gonna fucking read it, you piece of crap. The Redditor looking at. Just kidding. I love y'all. I love y'all. Seriously, y'all are awesome. Because yeah, there's still a shit ton of stories to cover though. The next one, I can't even comprehend. I can't even say half the story. I think I'm just gonna talk about the first paragraph and give it there, because Jesus Christ, it's long. It is long, and it is too much to
fucking read. I'm not even kidding. So let's just talk about it. Voice box. Yeah, so voice box is so long and it's just the worst thing ever. It's not good. If this thing has 12 chapters, there's so many, YouTubers that done like a complete read through of this, and like in separate parts, by the way. So this video would be much longer if I did that. I think I'd probably be here for like another 5 hours. It's fucking long. I'm not reading it. I'm only gonna read a first paragraph. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna read. All right. The day of my life changed forever. Started when, like, every other day. It was the same routine for the last 7 years. Ever since I turned 10, I woke up at 6 a.m., took a quick shower, tossed on my favorite black skinny jeans, a black Hollywood Undead shirt, my crimson hoodie, and my red and black running shoes. I pulled my long brown hair in a ponytail, covered the bruises on my pale face with some makeup, grabbed my backpack for school, and woke up my 6-year-old sister, Benna. Wow. Benya? I don't fucking know, it sucks. I quickly got her dressed and ready for school, fed her breakfast, and took her over to her babysitter. Luckily, her babysitter only lived a few houses down, so I had time to drop her off and rush back home and make breakfast for my parents. Just like every day, I hoped to have breakfast cooked and to be out of the door before my parents woke up. But once again, I was just a little too slow. As I finished cooking, my mother walked in and gave me her usual greeting, a punch to the stomach that dropped me to my knees, and a swift kick to the ribs. Get your lazy ass up and clean up the mess you made in your kitchen, Shayla, you useless bitch. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, she said as she calmly sat down to eat the breakfast as she had cooked. I nodded quickly and got to work on the kitchen, still hoping to get out of there before my father came down. I'm just glad that I was able to protect Benya from our parents. As much as someone called CPS. Christ! Someone called CPS! No, Jesus Christ, what? Okay. If your parents are this terrible, then just go. Bro, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. I mean, if you can get out of the house just like that, I'm just saying. I don't know how the situation. I can't judge. I don't want to. But this is a creepypasta and it's gonna be terrible. As much as my mother continual physical and emotional abuse hurt, it was nowhere near as bad as my father's punishment. I had just had a punishment last night since mother had to work late, and I didn't want to get another one after mother left for work, so I cleaned as fast as I could. Luckily the day I was able to get out before she came out. So for me, it started out a better day than most. After catching the bus to school, I hurried to my locker. Once again, I hoped that I could avoid Jenny and her group. Jenny, her boyfriend, Biff friend Joel, and Joel's girlfriend Roxanne were the biggest bullies at the school. They were also the head cheerleaders and the captains and the quarterbacks of the football team. Okay, I'm not reading the rest of this. You already know the gist. I know how this is going. It's basically probably like Jeff the Killer. There's no way. She falls in love. The picture. Yeah, blah 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 blah. Skylander Spyro murders. This is a story that somebody wrote. Somehow this exists. Still better than Amnesia. I'm kind of a nice guy. If you come to think about it, I'm the guy interested in loads of game series like Mario, Sonic 2, and Spyro. I'm not doing the voice, I'm sorry. I also spend some time watching walkthroughs of Skylander Spyro's adventure on YouTube, but I was creeped out one day. Okay, it all started when I was watching the last episode of Spyro's Adventures walkthrough, when I noticed a link to eBay to purchase the first Skylanders game that was sold just 2 minutes ago. I was so excited I clicked on it immediately. The first thing I noticed on the picture was odd though. What was odd was the game cover just said Skylanders with a little doodle of the portal of the power that was just there, but I only got one Skylander? That Skylander was Spyro. I thought it was just a crappy joke. I just proceeded to buy it. 2 weeks later, my Skylander copy was finally here. I started up the game and was ready to play. Well, when I got out Spyro, there was a note attached to him. It said,
Don't play as the Skylander. He is cursed.
I just ignored it and started to play. Everything was acting normal until I got a golden gear. You know what's really funny? You know what'd be really funny? If you got this game, if you were a seller on eBay and every game you made, or like, I mean, every game you sold, you just left a little note.
This game is cursed. Do not play.
Yeah, like that'd be funny. But make sure you put that in the listing so you don't get fucking, you know. Anyways, when I got it, the screen cut to black and it lasted for about 2 minutes. When the game returned, it was back at Skylanders, but something wasn't right. The clouds were very dark. Flynn, Cal, and Hugo were both gone, and the core of light was burning. The Mabu would not say anything, and the Lavender Town theme started to play when there was a Pokemon. I was freaking out, and I tried to pause, but nothing happened. I went in the hats menu to see something unexpectedly creepy. The character model of Spyro had blood dripping out of it, and his eyes and his ears a triggered happy stitched on his head, and he had fins of gills, grunts stitched as well. I was so scared, and I chucked Spyro off the portal and pulled the figurines' heads off and burnt the disc, leaving the rest buried in my back garden. Then 5 weeks later, I got something that was very weird in the mail. I got 20 different jetpacks when he was for the second Skylander game. I was getting very more creeped out. I just got them all out and noticed I had 21. When the mailman said I had 20, the 21 was the Spyro that looked like it was cursed, one but dead, with blood all over, and had another note was attached. It said, "You're next," written in blood. Yeah, I don't think the story was actually real. I'm kidding. Yeah, there's no way. Okay. Okay.
Agony.
Next story. Time travel journal. It shall kill though. This story used to be called It Shall Kill though, but it should have been called crap. Alright, here's the story. January 9th, 1987. What was it, tomorrow? I ventured in the cave. I don't know what to expect, but if anyone finds this journal, I'm dead. John Terry missing since 1987. Journal entry 1, January 3rd, 19... This is so bad. Oh my god, I can't even read it. No, I'm like not even kidding. It's so hard to read. Oh my god. So I guess these are journal entries, but like they're all just put together. It's short anyways. All right, journal entry 1, January 3rd, 1792. I'm finally in a new state. I just can't wait until I finish my log cabin. Journal entry 10. It was a monster that killed my mother. A monster, I tell you. It had giant eyes, long legs, and a heart on its head. But it had no head. It's just not there. Jackson McCarthy died due to severe mauling and blood loss. January 1st, 1733. I saw something in the woods. I went to investigate. I heard a scream. Something I'd never heard before. It sent chills through my spine. It jumped at me. It ripped my arm clean off. The pain was horrible in ways I cannot describe. I ran to the nearest town in the New York. I noticed I'm not gonna make it, but I'll never forget what I saw. I called it the Shinger. Marcus Moran died by blood loss. January 5th, 1700. Something terrible happened. The people on board the McCarthy were found dead. I saw something crawl out of the ship. Something I saw in England, but it must have been just paranoid. I should get some sleep. John Doe missing since he was on fishing trip. January 1899. I'm gonna die today. I'm gonna shoot myself. Better to die than just that beast. If you're reading this, then tell Lisa I love her. Jack Adams died of suicide. All the men who died were in their 40s to late 50s, so I know I'm gonna die because the goodbye cruel world. Bang bang. Oh no. Shang Matthew Toran die by question mark? Oh my god. That is unreadable. I don't even know what just happened there. I'm just gonna move on. Agony in pink. Okay, so I can't read this. I'm not trying to get my video age restricted and also banned off YouTube. I'll get my whole entire channel banned. But I will explain some interesting things about the story and the story itself. So basically, this story is a fanfic that someone actually made in their own free time. Something that you would actually, Agony was posted on the alt.sex news group around 1994. So this is a really fucking old story. It's not a creepypasta, by the way. This is not a creepypasta. The story was about the Power Rangers and the R word and the torture of the pink Power Ranger. The story quickly became very controversial on the site for many disturbing things, obviously. It became so infamous that Australia would eventually ban the website that it was on because of an anti-porn movement, when apparently activists would send the government this story. What? The writer would go on writing other stories like this. I don't think this dude is trolling. It's way long. I read less than a quarter of it. I only got to a part of it, and I read it because I was like, oh god, it's probably not that bad. It's bad. It's not the worst thing. We'll get to that soon. Jimmy Neutron Family Happy Hour lost episode. My cousin worked as an intern for Nickelodeon in 2005. He gave me a DVD of Jimmy Neutron. I got home and I later put it on the DVD in my Xbox. I played this episode. The title card was called Jimmy Neutron Happy Family Hour. I thought that this was a new unaired special hour episode. I was wrong. So, I'm not going to describe the rest of the story. I'm just going to show you the video, the very popular video that's this based on. The story is written, I guess it's written from, I'm just going to show you. It's just a minute long. This video is long anyway, so it's fine.
Hello Jimmy, hello you. I am going to make a delicious dinner meal.
Jimmy, your mom is dead. Do an order of pizza for dinner.
Okay, Daddy. Hello, can I get a large pizza pie for the Nutron household?
Now it is time for father-son bonding. Bond with me, Jimmy.
No one's more about gel coat. When the fourth
Don't you call any...
Here's your pizza.
The pizza is aggressive.
Oh shit.
Just another day in the life of Jimmy Neutron.
Dofamon. I am Nobita Nobi. I live in Kawasaki, Japan. I do really bad in tests in sports, and I got a box from a girl I love, Suizaka. It came with a letter. Nobita-kun, this thing is eating me alive. It's just some kind of robot. I'm writing this from the hospital. I'm temporarily vegetative, so I'm using Proloquid to go on the iPad. My mom is helping me write this. The box of the thing that eats me alive is in the box. Love you so much. Shizu-chan. So, I already know what the story's about. Pretty obvious. Just Sonic.exe clone. Fucking always. Box thing. Send it. Destroy it. Do whatever. I don't care. Why would I open something that would make me vegetative? I wouldn't be so dumb. The box was a cardboard box and the only writing on it was creeping me out, but I opened it anyways. After I opened it, I found out it was something. It was some kind of robotic cat that was blue without ears. I fiddled about in its body anyways, trying to find the on switch. I pulled its tail and it turned on. It said Konnichiwa no tame ni. I'm not gonna say that. It said Konnichiwa. I'm not gonna say the rest of that. I'm sorry. I said do homework, and it turned to my desk, and started writing negative things like commit suicide. Committing suicide is good. Oh, or fat people are idiots. 3 hours have passed and he's still writing negative things like kill your teacher and your mama is fat. In fact, he's nearly at the end of the jotcher I was given by my teacher. I thought some random gibberish would work, so I said, I can't say that. But then he repeated what I said suddenly out of pocket on his body. He got a knife. He started stabbing me right in my chest and then in my brain. I was screaming. I didn't know what to do. It just kept stabbing me full force. I had to badly go to pee, but then I couldn't make it on time. I wet myself. I drank all of that pee that was in the small puddle and splashed my butt off. Then he cut all of my limbs off. The pee was stinging the remains of my limbs. By the time my mom got to the room, he was gone. She called the ambulance. I am now in a vegetative state myself and using Proloq to go. In fact, I'm beside my friend in the hospital. I'm worse than her. I will stay in this state forever. I've developed a lifetime disability due to him. He went on the loose. I'm offering 1 billion yen reward to the one that can find this monster who has affected my life. 10 years later, I die of a sad and peaceful death. And yet he has still not been found. He must have gone off to another poor country that has experience for antics of this monster. Dofimon killing is a mystery. It's still waiting to be solved 40 years later.
But he will be coming for you.
Why would anyone write this? I never really thought I'd make it this far down. Seriously, we're almost done. Thankfully. This video is long enough. It's so long. Please subscribe for life. Dipper goes to Taco Bell. Alright, I just did a YouTube apology sigh. Alright, I read 1/3 of this story last year when I was watching an Iceberg video that mentioned the existence of this story, and wow. This really isn't a creepypasta, but it might as well be for how hard it is to read the whole thing, which I'll say it's a very long story. Honestly, I really can't tell you about what really happens in this story because it is so bad. But what I can tell you is that do not read this story. And also it's about Gravity Falls, the Dipper character, and him going to Taco Bell. But it's way worse than that. It is not just Taco Bell. Well, all right. So you're saying, okay, what happens? Well, let's give you a small little story. All right. Well, the taco made him need to go to the bathroom, and well, after that, I really can't say much because YouTube's sake would actually take down this video. And let's just say that don't look up the story again. Just don't do it because it really will mess with you. And if you watch Gravity Falls again, which you know it's a great show, you'll never look at it the same way again. Seriously, this and Agony, don't look this up. Agony I was okay with, not actually with the writing of it, whoever wrote it. I'm okay with the fact that I read it and it's not gonna, like, I don't watch Power Rangers, it's not gonna affect me. However, that being said, don't look this up. Not worth it. Not worth it, just trust me. The Suicide Channel. I was digging through my attic until I found an SD card that instead of having a label on it, had a small piece of tape, pieces misspelled, that said Wii Games written in marker. So I put it in my Wii and explored. I almost noticed that all of them except for one named Suicide Channel. I left the SD card and checked the data management in Wii settings and noticed that the channel took 666 blocks. So I decided to start the channel. And this is where it got weird. The channel title was written in blood, and instead of it saying start, it said leave now and die. So I decided to press die. That was the end of the story, by the way. Yeah. Cat. Hearing a gurgled meow, you picked up your cat and placed it on your lap, petting its hairless skin. You suddenly remember you don't have any pets! And last and worst of all, Greg's revenge. I couldn't actually find the story, but you know, it was hard to find. So I think this is the one they're referring to. It's called Greg's Massacre. So here we go. Hi, my name is Michael. I am using fake names, and I am a 15-year-old boy. I am a huge fan of Diary of a Wimpy Kid books and movies. I had every single book at home. When I saw the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book come out, I was 11 years old. I didn't know about the video in the book, but when I saw my big brother Ben, he told me that he had 5 Diary of a Wimpy Kid books in his room. I wanted to read them. When I had read the books, I became a fan and told my mom she needed to buy the other Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. She said yes. I had so fun at home reading those books when I saw something very horrifying. One day, I was researching for the 15th book of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid on Amazon, and I found it. When I was about to order the book, I saw there was writing with a black marker on it, and the text said, Diary of a Wimpy Kid DVD, all movies, plus bonus, a little short about Greg. The price was $0. I mean, I was confused, but I wanted to watch the movies without even buying every movie. So I ordered the book and the movies in the short. Without thinking twice, 5 days later, I got the package, and I was happy to read the 15th book of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. But I was too lazy to watch the movies, so I read the book first. Later, when I was finished, I started to watch the movies. I inserted the movie and it started playing. The movies were normal, but not the short. When I got to the short, it said Greg's Massacre. I was a bit scared of the name, but I just think it was just a little error. So I clicked play. The short started to play Diary of a Kid movie theme, and then it cut to Greg being in his room, saying something. He said, "Hello,
I am Greg.
You know me. You might have read my diaries, right? Well, I actually hate it, and I draw all this shit in those fucking diaries."
I was so shocked when I heard Greg swear in the kid's cartoon. Then, an image flashed for a millisecond. I didn't see the image. So I slowed down the short and I saw something horrifying. It made me almost poop me panties. It was an image of muscular Greg. Gark!
Horrifying.
He was colored pitch black and colored red, and his eye colors were blood red. There was blood red text saying,
I am unstoppable.
The second P's were missing. Then Greg started to say something. The English text appeared on the screen, and it said,
I am unstoppable.
This time, the 2 P's were not missing.
I hate everyone who caused me trouble and unluck. I am seeking revenge on them all.
Then he said,
I want to kill them all. For example, Manny. He was a piece of shit, and baby, and distorted the fucking tree. They climbed up and slid down. My Wonder Woman pants were shown. The snutters recorded it, and everyone laughed like a bunch of morons. Everyone will test my rampage
today. Then the Sonic.exe theme started playing, and I was very scared. Then I paused the video and said, why would Jeff Kinney make such a dark Diary of a Wimpy Kid short? The short is very horrible for kids, and I kept watching the short. Then Greg walked out of the room and saw Grogic walking in on the corridors. He said,
Hey, where's Greg? The guy who ruined the whole training of my heavy metal band.
The rest is coming soon. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the longest video I've ever made on this channel so far. If you enjoyed this video or at all enjoyed my sort of content, then you should definitely subscribe for life. Go check out my other videos. They're not the same all the time, but you should definitely check out my iceberg video, because I think I actually want to start doing more informative content, because I think it's really fun and it's definitely interesting to talk about all this stuff. It is a lot of work, but let me know in the comments what you think about this sort of content. This list was probably easier to edit than the other list, but man, did this take me still a long time. Go follow my Twitter, go follow my Instagram, my Twitch, go share this video too, but you know, do whatever. So yeah, I don't really have much to say. I just want to say I appreciate y'all so much, and I'm so glad that y'all are in my life. So this was Ricarsso. Please say the name right, goddammit. And as your favorite creator, I say to you, subscribe for life.
Today is Cement Awareness Month, and I just wanted to shine light on that. Is actually styrofoam, believe it or not. You can never tell these days because okay, that's real cement. I almost said semen. Excuse me, I'm doing a video for cement. God, come on. Anyway, semen.
You unzip, you go to the urinal, and you touch yourself.